House resumes and debate continues.
Madam Speaker, I rise to give my support to this budget, 2016-17 budget. And I noticed, Madam Speaker, that none of the members on the other side is actually here with us this afternoon. But that notwithstanding, Madam Speaker, the House continues. Madam Speaker, before I actually give an account of the ministry, for which I am now asked to manage for the time being, I want to seek your permission to make some general comments, but specific to what was said on the floor, and specific also to this year's budget. And it's not very often I take exception from my colleagues on that side. I have never shown any dissatisfaction from any measure being brought forth by this honorable House. But, Madam Speaker, I'm willing to make an exception today. And in that regard, therefore, I'm at the mercy of the Prime Minister. Because, Madam Speaker, the budget theme for this year speaks to something that's very important, and it's building a more resilient Dominica. But I want to take, just for the purpose of this contribution, a slight exception to that theme. And I would prefer to characterize my own theme, and to say that when I listened to the member on that side and I read the content of this year's budget, I want to say that I would prefer to have seen a theme that speaks to promoting love and compassion. And why do I say that, Madam Speaker? I have been in this House for a number of years, and I have never seen the Prime Minister, during the presentation of a national budget, so at ease and so comfortable. And I asked myself that question, and when I went out after the presentation, and even during the presentation, a number of persons sent messages and said, the Prime Minister looks so relaxed because of the compassion and the love that was coming from this year's budget, Madam Speaker. And for that, Madam Speaker, I'm very glad. And why do I say that? The Labour Party fundamental philosophy from the days of Sean Alfrey, from the days of Ewell Leblanc, from the days of Michael Douglas, may his soul rest in peace, from the days of Roosevelt Douglas, may his soul rest in peace, and from the days of Honorable Prayer Charles, may his soul rest in peace also, has been built on a mantra of compassion and love. And the opposition party is fundamentally opposed to the whole principle of love and compassion. That is why they are so vexed. I was listening, Madam Speaker, to Honorable Senator Thompson Fontaine, and he was so angry. But I just realized, Madam Speaker, it's because of the love coming from that side, which they cannot take from this budget. That's why he was so vexed. And the reason why I said that, Madam Speaker, immediately after the Prime Minister presented this budget, Senator Thompson Fontaine was on Kyrie 95. And he said that this budget was a budget of giving goodies. It was an election budget. Those were the sentiments expressed from Senator Fontaine. I heard you. It's recorded. Okay? I have more respect for you than that. Okay, all right? And Mr. Madam Speaker, Madam Speaker, when you have measures like the persons who have built this country, the fishermen, those who made this land so great for us to follow, have grown older than us, and are feeble, can no longer work hard, and they are told, by thy sweat of thy brow thou shalt eat bread. What does that connect? Is that compassion? Is that love? No. No, Madam Speaker, I want to say, because the member for Marigot is not there, because when he said that to the people of Sufre, his own supporters got vexed, and they're now saying to him, by the sweat of his brow, he shall eat bread, Madam Speaker. And that's why they're refusing now. They're saying, I'm no longer going to contribute towards any fund for you, because you're strong, you're healthy, and by the sweat of your brow, you shall eat bread, Madam Speaker. See, so Madam Speaker, when you move from the persons who have walked this land before us, fishermen, the guys who broke the macadam, the people who broke the macadam, and worked so hard, 75 years and over, and never contributed towards a fund. And we are now saying to them, we are moving from $200 a month to $300. That is compassion, that is love, Madam Speaker. Why are they mad about it? Last week Friday, the Honourable Minister for Housing and a Member for Parliament for Petit Savan, we went to a place called Centre in Grand Bay, and where the people who were displaced as a result of Erica, the people who lived in Dubic, basically on a riverbed, and I spoke to a lady who used to live in Mao before, she's from Grand Bay, and she said to me, tell the Honourable Prime Minister, thank you for me, because one Erica struck, she was deposited next to the road by the bridge, in the center of the river, in a house, with her children. Today, because of the compassion and love of the Labour Party and the Prime Minister, she has a new house in center, well secured, Madam Speaker. That is compassion, that is love. And Madam Speaker, we went to a number of houses, beautiful. And I want to say to some of you guys, members on the other side, Madam Speaker, to take a drive to center. And that place is so beautiful. And in the spirit of love and compassion, we shall transform this area into a model village, Madam Speaker. And when I went there, I'm saying to myself, when I'm overwhelmed, because the view is so spectacular, you see the sea, it's beautiful. It creates an environment for detachment. That is what compassion and love is all about. And you heard so well from the member for Solihull, the Minister for Social Affairs. Once he made reference to, Madam Speaker, over $5 million being spent thus far to pay rental for people's apartment, to give them allowances so that they can be fed. And I want to say to you, Madam Speaker, that I'm not all that young. We have had many hurricanes before, many natural disasters before. Have you seen such an outpour of love and compassion by any government in this country, Madam Speaker? It is because of what we stand for in the Labour Party. That is why we are taking care of our people, Madam Speaker. How can you say to the people of Dubic, as a result of a situation they got themselves into, by the sweat of thy brow thou shalt eat bread? Margaret, sir. So you should come here and support the budget. Margaret, after all, Madam Speaker, after all, Madam Speaker. Now, Madam Speaker, I can say something to you there. Because there are a number of people in this country who are vulnerable. In particular, Madam Speaker, we made reference just now about the people, the elderly. But you have the single mothers who are suffering. They meet, as a consequence, a child emerges. And then, Madam Speaker, the fathers walk away. So are you saying to them, Mr. Fontaine, as an economist, Dr. Fontaine, Senator, yeah, I respect that. I respect that. He earned it. I respect that. But he must demonstrate that by his manifestation and his deeds, Madam Speaker. So, Madam Speaker, how can you say to the single mothers who have gotten themselves into a circumstance, not because of their own fault, because of fathers who are irresponsible? We are creating a special pilot program so that children under the age of 3 years, that they can get some finance to mitigate against the bills for the medical bills. How can you be against that? That is compassion. That is love, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, yeah, you're supporting now. You're supporting now. You're supporting now. And Madam Speaker, the people of Pedisaba, as we speak, Madam Speaker, and you heard from the member from Grand Bay, what you're seeing that we have placed in this year's budget, where we shall be acquiring 49.2 acres of land in Belle-Bishop to build model homes for the people of Pedisaba and the people in the immediate vicinity, like Pishley, etc. How can you criticize that? How can you say the budget is empty? Again, another manifestation, Madam Speaker, of love and compassion. That is what the Labour Party is about. It's about promoting love. That is why, Madam Speaker, every time I hear Ophelia, I think about my mother. That song, Lamu Lamu, Love, Love. And in this, she has a line, I know you like Ophelia too, Madam Speaker. She said, love, love. Put that within you guys' psyche. Lamu Lamu, love, love. You guys hate love, only hate compassion. You cannot represent people and you don't have a sense of compassion. So, Madam Speaker, I wanted to just say that. Madam Speaker? Yeah. I've never smoked marijuana in my life, my son. I've never smoked, Madam Speaker.
I hear asides that I should not be hearing.
This is problem. Yeah.
I don't wish to hear asides, and it confuses the poor ladies who are doing this stenotyping.
Madam Speaker, let me just say that in the history of politics in Mao, only one person who has more elections than me is Sir Brian Allen. Let us not forget that. Okay? All right, yeah, fine. So, Madam Speaker, now, the issue is, Madam Speaker, I listened to Senator Baptiste, who is not there, and he said the only thing he can say about this budget is that it's a one-party state. Is that so? The question is, how can you accuse us from running a one-party state? And when the most important national issues being debated before this honorable house, you are organizing a 1,000-man march? Isn't that ironical? Is that the sense of a one-party state, Madam Speaker? But I'm saying, Madam Speaker, that we are not against any march. That is why I had no beef. I'm giving guys the permission. But we haven't been marched for the wrong reasons, Madam Speaker. I would like to have seen, I want to commend the member for the Karinago territory, that bouncing back from the ravages of Erica, when everybody should be partaking in a national effort to build back better. And if you call yourself a patriot, it seems to me, Madam Speaker, you must demonstrate a sense of attachment to the national flag. So this march in itself should have been a march to recommit ourselves together, to build back better roads, better homes, Madam Speaker, and better relationships. That is the march we should be having. A march to recommit ourselves to unity. And a march to recommit ourselves to respect for the rule of law, Madam Speaker. Because when we promote the fundamental principle of justice by trying to create an environment for people to embrace violence, it undermines the very same thing we're trying to promote. It undermines the fundamental principle of justice, Madam Speaker. And I'm saying finally, because the narrative that have been constructed by the other side, negative one about this country, false narrative about everything, And you heard them a couple months ago trying to create a situation, hoping that the foot soldiers, not themselves, could embrace violence and create a sense of anarchy and civil unrest in this country. I cannot be afraid of you. I cannot be afraid of you. Larry Pikati, by the Bay, I was born. All right? Right? You're my partner. Okay? So when you want a rinse, you know what I'm saying? You want a rinse, just tell me when you want it. Tell me when you want it. A rinse. Yeah. So, Madam Speaker, yes. Because I'm saying finally, Madam Speaker, before I go to account, give an account of my ministry. When I listen to persons by virtue of their experience and their intellect, who have retired from competitive politics, who ought to be voices of reason, stand before a gathering where people are emotionally charged, and say, Madam Speaker, as long as the status quo Labour Party remains in power, you, the people, must arm yourself to protect yourself. We in Dominica, we are not defined by tribes. We are one under one flag. The question is, Madam Speaker, who are you asking your foot soldiers to hold arms against and to fight against, Madam Speaker? And he qualified what I was saying. You're not the American, only the vigil. Okay? He said, and he referenced, so Wilson Churchill, and he said that peace was better than war, but he never said there shall be no war. What those code languages mean, Madam Speaker? So I'm saying, but I want to say further that match yesterday should be organized to commend the people of Dominica, because they have said to you over and over again, we are not going back to 1979, we are going forward, Madam Speaker. That we're going forward. We shall not destroy this country. I support the whole notion of having different views. I support the whole notion of having different political views. But we must never forget, it also places a sense of responsibility on each of us. And this mob style of representation we are trying to introduce in Dominica is not right. And the march, of course, should have been to recommit ourselves to give effective representation to the people who have elected us, Madam Speaker. Let us fight, let us represent the people for the road improvement, health care, education, etc., etc., Madam Speaker. And Madam Speaker, I've just said before, since the Labour Party, I've seen the emergence of our Prime Minister. For a number of years, we have built so many houses. We have repaired so many houses, Madam Speaker. We have sent so many persons who otherwise would have been dead for medical attention overseas. And I'm saying to myself, there's still so much to be done. The question is therefore, Madam Speaker, were it not for the Labour Party, what would have happened to those people? What would have happened to those people? And politics is always fought and won on progressive ideas. Not on hate, not on disdain, but, Madam Speaker, on progressive ideas. And that is why the Labour Party will continue to win and win again and again and again, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the Ministry of Justice, Immigration and National Security, Madam Speaker, over a number of years, even before I became the minister, has embarked on a number of processes geared towards modernizing the registry. As we speak, Madam Speaker, we have a unified land information system. And we have a modernized civil registry. It means, therefore, insofar as it relates to our titles, which is so critical, Madam Speaker, the titles can be processed in a much more improved manner. Our civil registry, the birth certificates, are now much more secured, Madam Speaker. And we shall continue to do that as time progresses, Madam. We recognize, Madam Speaker, as society becomes more complex and there's a need for more transaction in terms of business, there's going to be a greater need to have titles, etc. You may need security to actually facilitate your investment, etc. So it's critical to put systems in place to improve the manner in which the certificates of titles, etc. Are being processed, and to create a new work ethic, which is critical for our advancement. A key layer to the whole administration of justice, Madam Speaker, has to do with the magistrate court. We have heard from the business sector time and time again that a number of matters, civil matters, are not being dealt with. That is why, Madam Speaker, we have been able to put in place a qualified magistrate to deal exclusively with civil matters. We have also appointed a lay magistrate who is currently going through a process of orientation so that he can deal with uncontested traffic matters and matters under the Litter Act, and, of course, matters relating to the environment. Further, we have appointed 3 more magistrates, and as of the 15th of August 2016, we shall be having late court. That is to say, to start from 6 in the night to go up all down to 9, 10 o'clock, so that people from the business community and persons who have to work, who have a simple traffic matter or a civil matter, do not have to go and waste an entire day at the court, magistrate court. That is development and that is progress. These are things you cannot see, but also important, Madam Speaker, insofar as the administration of justice is concerned. I want to commend the Minister for Social Affairs, who spoke so eloquently about the whole issue of juvenile and family matters, and she made reference to a number of laws that shall be enacted this coming year. And of course, I want to commend the Attorney General, and notwithstanding what some people may think, if we have 10 persons who are able to demonstrate a sense of diligence to their work as the AG, then Dominica will go far. So I want to say that. Sometimes people, those of us who do not blow our own trumpet, the Americans say, if I don't blow my trumpet, who will blow it for me? But the British think otherwise. And he was trained in England, Madam Speaker. That's all I'm saying to you, to Mr. Basil, who is not there. And the member for Collier, the Minister for Social Services, made reference to the family court. But you cannot just simply overnight set up a family court. You have to ensure that you have the legal facility to give it effect, and then you have the infrastructure, proper counseling mechanism, probation officers, distinct from the Ministerial of Social Affairs. But she made reference to the Child Justice Bill, the Children Care and Adoption Bill, and the Domestic Violence Bill. But I want to just touch for a minute, Madam Speaker, on the Status of Children Bill. That is a very important bill, Madam Speaker. And that measure, or this piece of legislation, in my view, should have been enacted long ago. Because this is 2016. And I do not believe that a poor child should be made to suffer because of the behavior of adults. So the issue about a child being born out of marriage or out of wedlock, and as a result that child is a black sheep, is immoral in 2016, Madam Speaker, and has to be addressed. And there's another important issue. There are some of us who are blessed, and as a result, we have no issue with the process of procreation. But there are other persons, Madam Speaker, who cannot give birth to children biologically. So you have an issue of you may want to have a child by way of the fertilization process, which would require maybe, is it all right to say sperm, Madam Speaker, in the House? Is it all right to say, which may require that, right, from the father coming, yeah, it's a serious word. Sperm. Yeah, it's a science word, man. Sperm. Sperm, yeah. Okay? And then, yes, Madam Speaker. And then, the fact that, Madam Speaker, yeah. So, Madam Speaker, you have to have the appropriate laws in place to recognize the right of your children who came up to this earth as a result of that process. Okay? Once the parents have consented, I think we have to ensure that in some way in our laws, they are recognized and their rights are recognized, Madam Speaker. And that's why I think it's very important for us to understand when we speak about the Status of Children Bill. Because I heard some people say, what is that about? It tells you that the Labour Party is thinking, we are progressive, and we're not only concerned about building roads and bridges and homes, but the other factors and processes that are so critical to push our country forward, Madam Speaker. Just recently we came to Parliament, and we enacted some amendments to the Proceeds of Crime Act, Money Laundering and Prevention Act, and of course, to make it easier, you should watch it. To make it easier, Madam Speaker, to make it easier for the FIU, the Financial Intelligence Unit, to more effectively meet international standards, Madam Speaker, and to place greater responsibility and obligation on persons, especially persons coming to the country, to disclose in excess of $10,000. On the issue of predicate offenses, you no longer have to go to court and to secure conviction before somebody can be charged for money laundering. So the number of offenses that are tied to the act as predicate offenses, Madam Speaker. And that's what we're all about. Madam Speaker, I turn to the police department. And Madam Speaker, unlike what I heard from the member for Wesley, he's not there. And incidentally, Madam Speaker, he said he's a farmer. Basil is my friend, Basil doesn't plant anything. Madam Speaker. Member for Wesley. So, and you don't plant anything? No, nothing. And if there's a purple tree growing in some of us backyard, it's because as a result that a bird was flying over our yard, our backyard, and a seed happened to drop in the backyard. This is a wild purple tree, not you. You're not the one who planted it. All right? All right? Yes. Yeah, I'm Mr. Teo. So, Madam Speaker, yeah, I know. But he's my partner, not there, but he's not no farmer. Okay? So, Madam Speaker, the social and economic system in any country can only operate well when you have an appreciation for the rule of law. And that is going to require, Madam Speaker, an efficient police force. And there's no other government in the history of Dominica who have provided for the police of Dominica more than this Labour Party, Madam Speaker. And we shall continue to do that, Madam Speaker. And as we go forward, a number of initiatives will be put in place so that the police can more effectively serve the needs of the people. We, Madam Speaker, have gotten from the police an action plan for the community policing plan, which is critical because we need to forge better alliances between the police and the public for the express purpose of reducing and preventing crime, Madam Speaker. And on the 5th of August, the police force shall be launching a community policing program in the village of Kalibishi, Madam Speaker. I've been told that the people are very much enthused and looking forward to that. Thereafter, we shall go to Woodford Hill, and then Penville, and then move towards the other localities and communities within the country. And also there's a well-designed school program, Madam Speaker, all geared towards trying to get rid of that sense of suspicion that exists between the police and the public. The police force is not and cannot be seen as an entity in and of itself. The police department in any country gets its authority from its people, and therefore it has to be responsive to the needs of its people. It is the people of Dominica, and it's the people in any civilized society who elect a government to put in place functionaries to provide basic services for the citizens. And the police department is one of those departments, and we have to ensure that the police do what it's supposed to do to protect the people of Dominica. In that regard, Madam Speaker, as we move forward, Madam Speaker, we shall be making a more concerted effort to have more police officers on the street, and in Roseau, and of course, in our district. And we have to look at certain departments, like the immigration department, administration, and to see whether it's not making more sense to have some of the roles performed by civilians and to have police officers to go out there to perform the role they ought to be performing, to serve and to protect and to enforce the law, Madam Speaker. We also have to ensure that we continue to provide conditions conducive for the police officers to operate. In that regard, Madam Speaker, we have already started and completed renovation to one of the barracks at Monbrose, and after the passage of this budget, by the end of this month, we shall see the commencement of works to the tune of $500,000 on the main barracks at Monbrose to make sure that our police officers are comfortable, Madam Speaker. That is what we're all about, Madam Speaker. For a number of years now, in St. Joseph, Madam Speaker, the police officers have been without an inspector's quarter. By law, government is obligated to provide proper accommodation for police officers. And that is why we are making provision in this year's budget for the construction of an inspector's quarters in the village of St. Joseph, Madam Speaker. And years ago, we started a policy whereby we ensured that every department and every police station was equipped with a new vehicle. Madam Speaker, it's not in this year's estimate, but I've been given the assurance by the Prime Minister and having gotten the advice from the Commissioner of Police, we need an additional 7 vehicles to ensure that all the police stations, and one of those new vehicles, Madam Speaker, shall be going to Marigot, Madam Speaker. Okay? Because we're not about punishing people because of police support. This government represents everybody, and everybody has a right to a share of the national cake, Madam Speaker. So, we're going for that. There's an issue I'm very much concerned about, and every Dominican is concerned about, the issue of crime. And our greatest challenge has to do with drugs. And once you have drugs, you have illegal firearms. And what is taking place on the waters is what we can characterize as the cross-fertilization of crime. The persons who trade in drugs are the same persons who trade in illegal firearms. And that is very dangerous, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, you know that there are folks who say that they can move to one country to the next and take off somebody and go back. When these things happen, when you have this kind of expression, all of us have to be concerned. And that is why, Madam Speaker, I want to give the Honourable House the assurance, and based on my bilateral discussion with the Minister of Finance and the Prime Minister, we have seen it fit to invest in a proper vessel for the police department. A vessel whereby they can spend more time on the water, with greater capacity, and to confront the crooks and the criminals frontally, Madam Speaker. And in that regard, Madam Speaker, I want to commend the police officers, in particular, the officers who work within the drug court department, for doing a fantastic job thus far, Madam Speaker, and I think they have to be commended. Folks who are doing, the people who are doing the intelligence, because developing and cultivating the intelligence. Because we have to make a distinction between information and intelligence. You might have information, but has not reached the threshold of intelligence. And the mere fact you have been able to do that, it tells you there's a certain level of diligence and commitment and competence by some of our police officers. And we have to support them, Madam Speaker. We have to support them. In September, we shall be seeing, Madam Speaker, the passing out of 39 additional police officers. Because we want to ensure, I'm very passionate about that. We have to have more police officers on the street. More police officers on the street, Madam Speaker. We have to ensure that the beats in Rosa are service again from morning to next morning. It can be 2 o'clock in the morning. It can be 3 o'clock in the morning. It can be 6 o'clock in the morning. We have to go back to the days when we have police officers dressed in uniform on the street to protect our citizens of this country, Madam Speaker. And that is why in that regard, Madam Speaker, I've had more than a dozen meetings with the senior officers in the police force. And I met all ranks in the police force on several occasions to inculcate in the minds that policing has to be on the street, Madam Speaker, to serve and protect. And I want to commend the officers, and they're doing very well. And that is why, Madam Speaker, you have been seeing more officers on the bikes, and that in itself, as time progresses, shall be more organized, Madam Speaker, to ensure that not only in Roseau, but in Trafalgar, in Wallops, etc., Madam Speaker, in Goodwill, in Santa Roma, you can have police officers going out to this district to protect and to serve the people in those various areas, Madam Speaker. And that is what we're all about, Madam Speaker. Now, we have an emerging phenomenon in this country, not only in Dominica, but it's something that's evidenced on the streets in the Caribbean and in the world. And troublesome gangs. They have not graduated, Madam Speaker, to criminal gangs. They're not instrumental in the form. That they have no real criminal purpose. But if they go unchecked, Madam Speaker, they shall graduate into criminal gangs, and we cannot afford for this thing to happen in our beautiful country, Dominica, Madam Speaker. The police department, on my request, has provided a plan to rid the district of illegal firearms. I've asked for an action plan so that we can have a particular methodology in order to pursue that very, very serious task, Madam Speaker. And as I said just now, in the recent past, and up to yesterday and a couple of days ago, the police again had some very big fines. And then it concerns me because our bays are all open, and Dominica has a very unique and centralized location. So the natural direction for the drugs and dealers and the crooks to actually take is the Dominica direction. So I'm confident, Madam Speaker, that we will continue to provide the police department with all the resources that is required to ensure that the people of Dominica actually get the best out of them. Madam Speaker, but I want to say something further. Because very often, the minister or the prime minister makes a statement, or the commissioner makes a statement, people make noise. But if you go out and you agitate, there are persons charged with certain specific responsibility, and they are mandated, therefore, to make statement and to respond, Madam Speaker. But I have realized that we have not adopted a policy of buying into anger by responding. You have to demonstrate a sense of maturity at all times, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the fire department. I have seen, to be honest with you, Madam Speaker, excellent demonstration of commitment to country by the fire department officers. We had a situation where you had a number of temporary appointments in the fire department. When we met months ago after assuming the ministerial, we gave the commitment that we were going to address it. Because I'm happy now, Madam Speaker, that 95% of those acting positions have been filled. It means, therefore, persons can now go out and contract a loan to build a house or to buy a car and to live a life that makes sense, Madam Speaker. Now, when the fire department, Madam Speaker, when the building currently housing the officers in Roseau was constructed, it was meant, Mr. Speaker, to house 15 officers. Today, we have 130 fire officers, Madam Speaker. And a large number of those officers are actually stationed at Roseau. The intention is to relocate the fire officers from Roseau, but in the immediate future, Madam Speaker, we must embark on some serious renovation at the building to give some relief to the fire officers, Madam Speaker. And in this year's budget, provision has been made, the estimate, sorry, Mr. Speaker, provision has been made for $350,000 to renovate the building housing the fire officers in Roseau so we can get the guys in a situation whereby they can be more comfortable. They're human beings, Madam Speaker, and we recognize that. We have seen where the officers, from all reports, are responding very quickly to calls. We have 7 health districts, and each of the districts, Madam Speaker, is equipped. We are fully equipped ambulance. I said fully equipped because I heard some folks months ago talking about there's no oxygen. That's not true. Every ambulance, Mr. Speaker, is equipped with all the equipment required to intervene in an immediate situation before the person gets to the hospital. We have a situation down in Portsmouth, and monies again have been set aside to repair the building housing the fire officers in Portsmouth. Already, we have been through the tender process, and 3 potential contractors have returned the bids to the Ministry of Public Works. And we hope by the end of next month, we can see actual commencement in Portsmouth to actually address the deplorable condition in that area. In the interim, we are renting a building, and it's costing the state in excess of $6,000. So that's why it makes sense, Madam Speaker, Mr. Speaker, sorry, to repair the building in Portsmouth. Similarly, in Granby, Mr. Speaker, I have asked of the fire chief to try to ensure that we get quotes. I've spoken to the member of parliament from Granby. She's making noise with me every day. I don't know why. And what's that? And to get potential contractors so that we can address this long outstanding issue, Madam Speaker. Because at the end of the day, Madam Speaker, the fire officers, the police officers, provide an essential service, and we have to ensure that they're properly taken care of. The prisons. Mr. Speaker, in 2016, the prison has to depart from placing emphasis strictly on incarceration and adopt a new approach of correction and rehabilitation, Madam Speaker. There are some persons who have gotten themselves into difficulty with the law, and by virtue of the gravity of the offense that they've committed, need to be put away for a long time. And let me say to this honorable House, too, I support the death penalty. In my view, once you have deliberately taken a human life, you have forfeited your own life the own right to live, Madam Speaker. Mr. Speaker, that's my view. But there are some persons who need to be given a second chance. So when somebody walks into the prison setting, when he or she leaves, that person ought to be a better person. That person ought to be able to contribute towards mainstream society. That is why we are placing emphasis, and I've asked for a survey to be done at the prisons to give me a sense as to how many persons we have at the prison who are unable to read and write. How many persons who have dropped out from secondary school. So that, because it may mean we may want to have a well-organized adult education program, we have the Dominica State College, which of course we heard from the Minister for Education, who spoke so well about all the things we're doing in education, whereby the prison can work in concert with the state prison, so that you can have a situation whereby some programs, you can have do-overs in your CXC, or whatever the case may be. And there are some persons who may want to give up their vocational skills as mechanics, refrigeration. So you can have a situation whereby you can have the state college running programs at the prison. So when the inmates leave, they are better individuals, Madam Speaker. That's the kind of approach you must take in 2016 and beyond, Madam Speaker. Another issue has to do, how can we make the prison self-sufficient in meat and certain crops? As I speak, Madam Speaker, I was amazed by the amount of money we're spending for provision every week, and the amount of money we're spending on chicken. So we have started a pilot program, and for the past month and a half, the prison itself has been able to produce in excess of 1,000 pounds of chicken by rearing their own chicks at the prison. What I would like to see is to see a gradual decrease in the amount that are being spent to purchase chicken for the prisons. Likewise, we're going to ensure that we set up the greenhouses so that they can at least produce their own vegetables. Already they're producing the pork, Madam Speaker? Yes, sir. Right? Okay. And then, you heard me spoke just now about we're placing emphasis on vocational skills, training the prisoners, so that they won't return to the prison setting. That has been done to keep down the population of the prison. Another issue, Mr. Speaker, because notwithstanding the fact that they are prisoners, they have rights. And of course, we have to ensure that they actually, the conditions of the prison are not in a deplorable state, Mr. Speaker. That is why we have requested for an estimate to be done in the maximum security area so that we can see some improvement in that area, Madam Speaker. A number of times the guys are on remand and they have not been charged, they have not been convicted, Madam Speaker. We have to ensure that we recognize that they have certain basic rights, Mr. Speaker. So that these are some of the things that we're doing. Another issue has to do, Mr. Speaker, as to how do we continue to ensure that our prison officers are properly trained. We have been able to organize a number of training programs over the years for prison officers. We have been able to partner with friendly organizations from overseas, the Canadians, where we had a program where we started, Mr. Speaker, with a carpentry shop, and you have inmates learning the various levels of carpentry. And when I went up there, I was very much impressed, Mr. Speaker, to have seen the quality of work that the inmates are able to do. And that is a government, Madam Speaker, that is looking at all the areas of development, including human development, Mr. Speaker. We also will be ensuring that they provide an additional vehicle for the prison service and to ensure that they are facilitated to actually do their work more efficiently. And when I spoke about the fire department. We have a situation at the Douglas Childs Airport, because we have to ensure that at all times we have the required appliances at the airport at Douglas Childs to ensure that we are compliant with international aviation standards. And as we progress into the new financial year, we shall be working to ensure that we continue to improve on our capacity in that regard at the Douglas Childs Airport, Mr. Speaker. During the passage of Erica, we realized how important it was to have a well-organized system insofar as mitigation and disaster management is concerned. And we have been able to, we looked at the Disaster Preparedness Office with a view to ensuring that we have the required number of persons so we can improve on the human resource component in that office so to ensure that the people of Dominica can be properly serviced by the ODA. In that regard, we have been able to have 2 persons appointed as program officers. We have, of course, the coordinator who's currently acting, and we're looking forward to appoint an additional 2 program officers to bring it down to up to 4, so we can have a situation whereby we have a well-organized department that can be responsive to the needs of the people of this country in the event that we have a natural disaster, Mr. Speaker. So these are all the things that we're doing, Mr. Speaker, insofar as the Ministry of Justice is concerned, Immigration and National Security. Madam Speaker, Mr. Speaker, why am I saying Madam Speaker for? Mr. Speaker. Much was said about the Citizens by Investment program. And notwithstanding what we heard from the Prime Minister, and he was able to account as to how the monies have been spent, we still heard that the people of Dominica are not benefited. And as I turn, Mr. Speaker, to the Mao constituency, Mr. Speaker, and I want to say, as I speak, Mr. Speaker, and if you were to read the budget, you would have seen that almost $600,000 was made available under the CBI program, and I'm elated by a number of facts. As we enter in Mahou, there's a place they call Mount Zion, and that's a place that is very dear to my heart, because we used to go there and play cricket. I never saw you there. And as time progresses, Madam Speaker, people built the homes, etc., and the road wasn't at the deplorable condition. Give me 10 more, 20.
Mr. Speaker, I rise to ask for additional 10 minutes for the Minister to complete his presentation.
Second, Mr. Speaker.
It's 25 minutes to 5 now.
It has been moved and seconded that the Honorable Minister be given a further 10 minutes to complete his presentation. Those in favor? Aye. Those against? You may continue.
Is now 4:40. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you. And I went 3 months ago and I held a public meeting with the wonderful people out there and said that we are going to do that road for you. Some of them said it's not going to happen. I'm happy because of the Citizens by Investment program. The people of Monscope, they are saying to me they're happy. They have a brand new road so they can be driven right next to the doorstep, Madam Speaker. People are benefited. Information Massa, we have just completed some improvement to the road. As I speak, we have an additional $90,000 to improve the road to Canal in Massac again. We have done the Jim Avenue in Jimmet, $106,000 thanks again to the Citizens by Investment Program. Mr. Speaker, as I speak with you, we are completing the link road in Wana. And you realize that we are not punishing people? Okay? And, Madam Speaker, Mr. Speaker, one Erica struck in Corey's Rest, a place called First Pasha. You never be up there. I used to go and be there in the morning. Madam Speaker, First Pasha, Corey's Rest. We call it Shimikoi. And one Erica struck, the whole section of the road was washed away, and there was no access, vehicular traffic access. As I speak with you, we are spending in excess of $400,000 to do a returning wall, to dredge the river, to improve the road, and to build a bridge. Thanks again to the Citizens by Investment Program, Mr. Speaker. As I speak with you, Mr. Speaker, as we're approaching Campbell, we are spending in excess of $200,000 to build a returning wall and to improve the road there. And speaking about Campbell, as we have done in Jubic and Petit Savan, we shall ensure that the people of Campbell are treated with a sense of dignity and to elevate their lives, Madam Speaker, Mr. Speaker, because Campbell too is a very vulnerable area. That's why we're looking at Wana. And to deal with some vulnerable people, I've said, I've always tried to avoid to say anything bad about it because of appearance. But don't allow me to do that. Huh? Don't allow me to do that. So, Mr. Speaker, when you speak, I think about your mom and your dad. Don't allow me to do that. Senator Thomas, relax yourself. Okay, I don't want to do it. All right? If you force me to do it, I will do it. If you force me to do it, I will do it. And you realize that I've been very cool with you, very nice with you, not because of you, because you're not no center. Relax yourself. Mr. Speaker, I'm looking at you right now, okay? All right. And we shall continue in that regard. As I speak with you, we have the estimate for Upper Belfast. And of course, I spoke with somebody up there and said, have you forgotten us? I said, no. I said, no. So very soon, Mr. Speaker, we shall be addressing 2 serious roads in Upper Belfast, where we shall be spending in excess of $300,000 to improve the road network up there. We, some months ago, made some money available to the Village Council of Kenfield to continue our road improvement efforts in Kenfield East. We have 2 outstanding roads in Kenfield East, and very soon, Mr. Speaker, we shall be completing those roads in Kenfield East, Mr. Speaker. That's what we're about, you know. And then the whole issue of youth empowerment. Earlier, I made reference to troublesome gangs emerging. I met the guys on the block in Maho. They submitted the project proposals, and we ensured that there are some persons who said that they wanted to go into agriculture. They had a boat, they had no motor. I warned them. The motor on the boat is to fish for fish. Fish for fish, nothing else. All right. And some of them said, Mr. Speaker, there was one particular young man who was an electrician, but he had no tools. We have got that for him. And they were all happy to empower them. Just a couple weeks ago, I met with the young persons of Campbell, and then on I shall be moving to Massac and Kenfield to ensure that the young folks who feel that the system have left them behind can be catered for. Somebody has to do the work. Because when you see a young man sitting by the roadside, he's saying something to the rest of us. So we have to demonstrate that sense of leadership from the community level, Mr. Speaker, to guide and to protect our young people. But I've said, everybody is born with his or God-given talent. You must therefore have the commitment to add value to that talent, Madam Speaker. And I've said to them again, it cannot be a situation where you wake up first thing in the morning and smoking a marijuana spliff. Where's Isaac? Remember Peroso. Anybody who says to you that smoking marijuana first thing in the morning is good for you, does not like you. It can be pepper leaf, it can be marijuana leaf, it can be any leaf, tobacco leaf, it can be cigarette. It cannot be good for your health, Madam Speaker, Mr. Speaker. And all the talk we have been hearing about marijuana, that's cool. I would like to see a process where we have had an evaluation in the areas where it is legalized to see what impact it has been having on the psyches of our people. That's the kind of analysis we need to have and to inform ourselves going forward, Mr. Speaker. So all these things we're doing. Now, we have to be happy for each other. Guys, some of the Senator for Wesley, from Cassibros, Mr. Isaac Baptiste, lamented about massacre and Mahu in the budget. Mr. Speaker, I make no apologies for fighting for my people. I'm standing in this house here, Mr. Speaker, because of the people of the Mahu constituency, Madam Speaker. I have an obligation, therefore, to represent them every day, every month, Mr. Speaker. So I want, and I hope he's listening, Mr. Baptiste, Senator Baptiste, Massa basketball court to be the center for basketball in Dominica, Mr. Speaker. And in that regard, we shall be ensuring that we have a beautiful, modernized, steel frame structure in Massa so it can be properly covered, Madam Speaker. And the member for St. Joseph, Mr. Speaker, love basketball and has played basketball in Massa. So we're going to standardize and modernize the manner in which basketball and volleyball are being played in Massa. And we have put aside $672,000 for that to be done. As we speak, I have the design, and I want to say thank you to young Cassini Alaville, a design because we have no other suitable parcel of lot in Massa to have a proper playing field. We have a design to have a playing field next to the basketball court. I'm already starting to visualize, Mr. Speaker, an improved basketball court, properly covered, and a nice playing field next to it, well lit, and creating a whole spectacle at night for all to see, Mr. Speaker. That is what representation is all about. And we shall get it done. During the election campaign, a reference was made to the whole issue of All Saints University. And I'm happy that already work has begun in clearing the site. And in time to come, the owners of All Saints University shall be meeting the people of one. Think of the possibilities that will emerge out of this very important investment. We can use Portsmouth as an example, and the possibilities for commercial real estate and farmers, and of course, more people, and see some people smiling who come to live in that area, in the Mahu constituency, and they're all welcome. I'm not calling names, Mr. Speaker. Okay, that's what we're all about. And apart from that, I'm not going to call any name. We're looking at the next development in the Flat of One. And for those persons who have been displaced as a result of Erica, 5 people lost their homes from Campbell. There are a number of persons who are still in vulnerable areas in Campbell. We shall take care of you, too, people of Campbell, hardworking people. Whenever I go to Campbell, a friend of mine, once you hear my vehicle vibration, by the time I pass him back, a big bag of food, I'm waiting for me. Love, lamu. Speaker. So that's what we're all about. So, Mr. Speaker, we shall continue to provide for the people of the Mahu constituency. And as we have seen before, we're not going to relent. And as I speak with you, we are doing, and I want to say thank you to the Minister for Works. Our rivers properly are being dredged in Canefield. Our rivers are being dredged in Belfast. And our rivers are being dredged in Checkle Valley. And I went to Checkle Valley soon after the passage of Erica, And when I went there, when I saw the devastation, I said, there's no way nothing could have been done there. But we are getting there, and we shall not relent. We shall not relent, the Labour Party, unless we build back these communities better. But anything that happens overnight, not going to last. Development, especially in a small island state, is incremental, phases, step by step, Mr. Speaker. So, in closing, Mr. Speaker, I want to say that I feel good with myself to be a part of the Dominican Labour Party under the leadership of Rosemary Scarry. We have persons there, many great examples for us. Lady Daniel, who leave her work and is giving back to community. Because there are a number of persons who believe that when you're involved in politics and you're minister of government, that things are so nice and few. It can be a very lonely life. Because everybody's looking to you for answers. And when you see people like Lady Daniel, Dennis Charles, one of the members for Suffrage, spoke for the first time in Parliament, and she spoke like a veteran, Mr. Speaker. Is that the caliber of persons we have? That's the caliber of persons we have on the Labour Party side. Senator herself, from day one, has been speaking like a veteran. We are champions on this side, Mr. Speaker. We are champions on this side. And them fellas, these guys, honorable members, sorry, have to respect the champions, Mr. Speaker. You see, one thing in my offer, we don't waste some ticket back. You know what I'm saying? We take that back quickly. Yeah. Come on, take it back. All right? So, man, I listened to the member for Carinago. Fantastic. A champion. You listen to the member for St. Joseph, the IT man, Pam Pam. A champion. Who's that saying? What Pam Pam? Is that? Say Pam Pam. Listen? IT man, you know? Pam. You know? See? So you get my point. And in closing, Mr. Speaker, in closing, yeah, no, what's that? In closing, okay, in closing, the member for Rosenhoff is not there. And he made noise, he was upset. But I normally hang out in the Goodyear area. And a guy told me from the area, Mr. Speaker, I'm hearing my prep talking about no employment, things bad. And he has one grafted mango tree in his backyard. And he doesn't want the children from his area to touch his mangoes. He's saying, $2 for my mango. It doesn't matter if the mango aborte, if it's not back, if it's not me, Madam Speaker. Aborte means when it's not ripe, it's not green enough, you understand? You can right. Like we say when I'm miscarriage, when you say when I'm a miscarriage, yeah, first one. When I'm a miscarriage, aborte. Yeah. And then, okay, so, yeah. And he's saying, if you want my mango, $2 for it. He's not concerned whether the mother or father is employed or not. $2 for a mango. We on the other side, love, compassion, we give, Madam Speaker, especially vulnerable. I thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
No access yet.
On.
Yes. Thank you. Mr. Speaker, I have absolutely no hesitation in standing here today and supporting this wonderful budget that has been presented to this House. Mr. Speaker, many would have thought that we would have been coming to this House with an austerity budget. And perhaps many on the other side had hoped that this is what we would have presented to this House. They would have hoped that government would have been imposing taxes on the people, that this government would have been cutting down on social programs. But that did not happen, Mr. Speaker. We did not see that. The opposition says there is nothing in the budget, nothing to benefit the people. What have we seen? A budget that has no more taxes, no new taxes. That is very deliberate, Mr. Speaker. We all know that this country suffered great loss caused by Erica. We need to stimulate growth, and we do not do this by imposing taxes. We do this by investing in our productive sectors. That is why, Mr. Speaker, we have seen soft loan financing being made available to our main growth sectors, the tourism industry and the agricultural sector. $15 million with a 1-year grace period and interest of only 3%. This was made available to the tourism industry to improve their hotel plans and restaurants. We see changes to the tax structure to allow them to recoup their investments when they invest in upgrading their properties. We see increases in the marketing budget. All this to support the tourism industry. Mr. Speaker, in agriculture, we see $10 million in loan financing being made available for farmers. Low interest rates of 3%, a grace period of 6 months. This can be used, Mr. Speaker, for the farmers to invest in pig and poultry, to provide for the abattoir, to meet the local demand for those goods. We're told that we import in excess of $18 million a year in these products, and the market is there. This can be used, Mr. Speaker, to expand our farms. Many members on this side of the House are involved in farming. Many professionals are getting involved in farming. Why is that? Because they see the benefits, Mr. Speaker. The demand is there. All we have to do is to be consistent and to produce good quality, and government will assist along the way. Mr. Speaker, Tropical Storm Erica dealt us a devastating blow. And I must say that I don't know where this country would have been if this government had not been returned to office in 2014. Mr. Speaker, after the response that we heard the leader of the opposition deliver to the budget presented by the Honorable Prime Minister, if that didn't show us that all hope would have been lost, Mr. Speaker, I don't know what will. Not even a 1,000-man march the opposition could successfully organize. And somehow, Mr. Speaker, somehow, that failure becomes the government's fault. Senator Baptist stood up in this House this morning and said that we on this side of the House didn't want them to speak so that we could prevent them from going on their march. Mr. Speaker, except for the leader of the opposition, all of the other opposition members who had already spoken, they sat in this House while the march was going on. Senator Thomas, you were here. You spoke the day before. Member for the Roseau Central Constituency, you were here in this House. You spoke the day before. Senator Monell, you were there. You spoke long before 4:30. Member for Wesley Constituency, you were in the House. You spoke. He spoke long before 4:30. But all of you all abandoned your leader, and all of you all sat there while the match was going on. So don't stay there. Don't stand up there and blame us.
On a point of order, Senator Williams spoke at 7:15. Correction. I spoke at 7:15 p.m.
Okay.
Be honest. Let's stay positive.
Okay.
There's no point of order, Mr. Speaker.
Okay.
It's a fact. So we must not stand up in this House and seek to blame this side.
We have to keep order in the House, okay? She rose on a point of correction. We listened. The point was noted, all right? But we haven't got to continue going on and on and on about this thing. I just find sometimes we go on and on a little bit too much in the House. So let's ensure that we maintain order in the House, please. All right?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
No. Am I hearing people expressing dissatisfaction?
Withdraw what? Withdraw what?
We noted. We noted the correction. We're going to move on. You're welcome.
And so, Mr. Speaker, it is not right for Senator Baptist to stand up in this House and say that we refuse to allow them to speak so that they could go to the march. Because those of them who spoke sat in this House while this march was going on. Now, Mr. Speaker, the leader of the opposition stood in this honorable House and said that he wanted to be part of the budgetary process. But we sat here. He presented no ideas to us for how we could do it better. He offered no suggestions for raising revenue. He even had no thanks or praise for the tremendous support that we have gotten from our friends and development partners. He offered no thanks to the government of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela for the houses to resettle our displaced persons. A gift worth in excess of $30 million, Mr. Speaker. He offered no thanks to the People's Republic of China for the major infrastructure works that they will undertake along the EO-Libla Highway. Another gift in excess of $40 million. He did not even acknowledge, Madam Speaker, the tremendous benefit to the people of this country from the new National Hospital to be constructed with grant funding by the People's Republic of China. Another gift, Mr. Speaker, worth in excess of $100 million. He made no mention of the works to the Louvière-Bagatelle Grand Fort Road to be funded with the kind assistance of the British government worth over £25 million or over 88 million EC dollars. Do we honestly believe, Mr. Speaker, that the leader of the opposition would have been able to attract that sort of assistance for us? Mr. Speaker, it is at times like these when the friends that you have cultivated over the years come to your aid, and our friends stood in solidarity with us. We saw the solidarity displayed by our CARICOM neighbors. Heads of government visited Dominica, or they sent their envoys. They sent technical assistance, military assets, and other personnel, and they made monies available to us for the initial relief effort. They made their Bailey bridges available to us, bridges that they had for their own use, but they realized that our need was greater. They kept in touch with our Prime Minister and stood with him and the Dominican people every step of the way. Madam Speaker, how can we not acknowledge that? Mr. Speaker, the ambassadors of the countries who have embassies here, China, Cuba, Venezuela, Brazil, and those accredited to us who reside in the region, they kept in constant contact with us, offering and coordinating support from their countries. These include France, Japan, the US, the UK, Netherlands, the EU, New Zealand, South Korea, and our Latin American neighbors, and many other countries. And Mr. Speaker, we speak of transparency. Mr. Speaker, all of these countries who assisted us were sent a breakdown showing the funds received for the relief effort and what it was used for. Yet the Honorable Senator Fontaine is out there saying to the world that money is unaccounted for and we have misused the funds, giving the impression that we pocketed those relief funds. That's wrong. Shame, shame, shame on you. Mr. Speaker, all of the funds received were transferred by donors into government accounts. These accounts and what money is spent on are subject to oversight by the Financial Secretary, the Budget Controller, the Director of Audit. Public officers are the ones who deal directly with all public funds, and they must account for every cent that is given to us. No Minister of Government, including the Prime Minister and Minister of Finance, none of us have direct access to public funds. Why is it, Mr. Speaker, that the opposition insists on trying to convince the world that we are using the money for personal gain? And why is it that they want to convince others that they should not help Dominica? Why? You all must stop that. Stop misleading people. Stop undermining our country. Madam, Mr. Speaker, you had your chance to speak. You had your chance to speak. Mr. Speaker.
Senator Fountain, please.
You had your time.
I don't mind, Dr. Fountain, I don't mind. But please, again, I call for order. Let us try to conduct ourselves properly, please. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Speaker, permit me to provide this honorable House with the details of what was received and what was spent. And I will round up the figures. For accommodation for emergency search and rescue teams, $192,000. Goods and supplies to affected citizens, $639,000. Transportation of supplies, $229,000. Fuel for search and rescue, $133,000. Assistance to affected citizens for loss of personal items, $1.7 million. Displacement allowance, $1 million. Rent for displaced citizens, $1.6 million. Cleanup, slope stabilization, creation of temporary access and security services, $10.1 million. Installation of Bailey bridges, $1.6 million. Installation of solar runway lights for the airport, $1.2 million. Rehabilitation of the Coolibri Street Primary School, $20,000. Refurbishment of the Dailies Primary School, $22,000. A total of $18.6 million. We received $23 million. There's a balance of $4.4 million that remains in the account and has been allocated to meet outstanding invoices. We can account for every last cent that we received. There it is, Mr. Speaker, there it is. The opposition would like to give the impression that the international community has abandoned us. Nothing is further from the truth. We can see that. While we would like to see funding made available more speedily, there are processes that have to be followed. And it will take some time before some projects can come on stream. And that is why, Mr. Speaker, we must be thankful that we have the Citizenship by Investment Program. This program, Mr. Speaker, allows us to raise the funds to meet critical needs in a timely manner. Mr. Speaker, in addition to the project that I have already spoken about, the Caribbean Development Bank approved a Tropical Storm Erica rehabilitation and reconstruction loan of US $30 million and technical assistance support of US $0.5 million. The World Bank has offered assistance of US $19.6 million from the IDA 17 envelope. And once fully committed, an additional US $25 million is available from the crisis response window. The crisis response window, Mr. Speaker, is a facility created by the World Bank to respond to exceptionally severe events such as Tropical Storm Erica. The EU, the European Union, has pledged financing estimated at €6.7 million from its emergency assistance B envelope. The government of Mexico committed US $5 million, or EC 13.5 million. The government of Japan has committed 200 million Japanese yen, or EC $4.6 million, in disaster equivalent reduction equipment. They have also committed to providing us with technical assistance. The government of Italy committed technical assistance valued at US $1.2 million, or EC $3.2 million. So, the government of Trinidad and Tobago, Mr. Speaker, committed and has since provided TT 5 million, or EC 2.1 million. This was used in the fencing of the airport. Technical assistance has also been promised in many other areas by other development partners. So we haven't been abandoned. Far from it. Our friends and development partners continue to work with us, and we continue to discuss with them other ways in which they can assist us. Mr. Speaker, we have seen very clearly how important the Citizenship by Investment Program is to us. If it were not for this program, many of us would be preparing to pay more taxes in August. If it were not for this program, we would be incurring more debt. This program, Mr. Speaker, is benefiting each and every Dominican, and we must not forget that. So when we hear people on the airwaves and on the internet blasting the program, spreading lies and half-truths about the program, seeking to undermine and destroy the program, we must speak up. It does not matter what party we support. It does not matter if we are red, green, blue, or yellow. This program benefits all of us, and we must preserve it, we must protect it, and we must promote it. We like to compare Dominica, Mr. Speaker, with other countries in the Caribbean. We say they have this and they have that, and Dominica doesn't have it. These programs have benefited all of our sister islands in the Caribbean who have it, and it has benefited them significantly. And we have to ask ourselves, do we want to destroy our program to their benefit? Well, when we do that, Madam Speaker, Mr. Speaker, we have only ourselves to blame. Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister has provided to this Honorable House a breakdown of how much funds were collected from the citizenship program and what those funds were used for. This was contained in a printed text. But for those who do not have access to the printed text, I think it is important that I list them. We need to understand, Mr. Speaker, and we need to appreciate how this program benefits us. The Prime Minister is not collecting the money and putting it in his pocket. The Prime Minister has no direct access to those funds. The money goes directly into a government account, and he is not a signatory to this account. He cannot sign on the account. He cannot withdraw any money from those accounts. Each cent has to be accounted for and is subject to audit by the Director of Audit. Mr. Speaker, the following amounts were spent in the last financial year on projects from monies raised under the citizenship program. Under the National Employment Program, $8.7 million was spent. The apprenticeship program, $435,000. Assistance to the fisheries sector post-tropical storm Erica, $281,000. Projects in the Maho constituency, we heard the Honorable Minister for Justice give a detail to, he detailed to us everything that was spent in his constituency that came from the Citizenship by Investment Program. $521,000. Road rehabilitation in Cochrane, $300,000. Assistance to farmers and small businesses in the La Plaine constituency post-tropical storm Erica, $389,000. Tourism site enhancement, $139,000. Community tourism expansion, $258,000. Rosa enhancement project, $2.9 million. Small business enterprise development, $2.5 million. Rural business enterprise centers, $231,000. Financial assistance to medium, small, and micro enterprises affected by Tropical Storm Erica, $136,000. Windsor Park Stadium, $121,000. Cabrit Hotel Resort and Spa, $165,000. Land settlement and development, $781,000. House renovation and sanitation program, $2 million. Solar street lighting project, $262,000. Road rehabilitation works in Bells, $253,000. Reconstruction of the West Bridge and river dredging, $768,000. Tropical Storm Erica rehabilitation works, $1.7 million. Emergency infrastructural works at the Douglas Charles Airport, $14.3 million. And all of us were happy to see the work done at the airport so quickly. That year, we were able to do that because we had the funds from the Citizenship by Investment Program. All of us have benefited from the airport being up and running in quick time. Dredging of rivers at Coolibee Street, Castle Comfort, Laron and Fishley, $400,000. Reconstruction of road edge failure, Dubla, $1 million. Outstanding payments for the Rosa to Douglas Charles Airport, $5.4 million. Reconstruction of damaged fencing at Douglas Charles Airport post-tropical storm Erica, $281,000. So, Mr. Speaker, I think that it was important to go through this entire list because it shows us clearly that all of us, the whole country, has benefited and will continue to benefit from the citizenship program. Mr. Speaker, I wish to speak also to the skepticism and criticism that the leader of the opposition expressed about the Range Kempinski project. He drew comparisons with the failed Layo River Hotel project. Well, Mr. Speaker, I wish to assure this honorable House and this country that what happened with the Layo River Hotel will never happen with any of our projects under the CBI program. For one, Mr. Speaker, the Layo River Hotel failed under the supervision of the Freedom Party and the United Workers' Party government, not this government. Not this government. The projects under the Citizenship by Investment Program are being done under the supervision of this government, a capable, prudent, and responsible government. Mr. Speaker, we have ensured that proper safeguards have been put in place to ensure that all funds that are invested into these projects through the citizenship program is appropriately supervised by the Ministry of Finance and are used solely for the benefit of this project. How have we ensured that, Mr. Speaker? In the time of the Lai River project, the government had little control over the monies collected. In fact, at one point, they put the developer in full charge of the account. Under this government, this does not happen and will never happen. Mr. Speaker, under the citizenship regulations, an applicant investor for citizenship makes a minimum investment of US $200,000 for the development of the project. That $200,000 is paid into an escrow account. Mr. Speaker, for any funds to be withdrawn from that account, 2 people must sign to authorize it: the developer's representative and the government's representative, who is the financial secretary. The developers must apply for funds to be released from the escrow account, and they must provide proper documentation to support their request. The government employs an independent quantity surveyor who monitors the work on site and who reviews the milestones achieved and the request for payment. And he advises the financial secretary before any funds are released to the developer. In this way, Mr. Speaker, all funds received are spent on the project and are paid in respect of work already done. Mr. Speaker, I don't think that I can overemphasize that we, the citizens of Dominica, have to take ownership of the citizenship program. These hotel projects will address our unemployment issues for all those who are willing to work. Our building contractors, architects, engineers, plumbers, carpenters, laborers, tradesmen, all of them will find employment. Our people will be employed in the management of these hotels, landscaping and maintenance services, housekeeping. Our farmers and fishermen will be engaged to provide vegetables, ground provision, fruits, fish, pork, poultry, and much more. We will have 5-star hotels that can attract visitors with high spending power. We will collect more taxes. Our vendors, our taxi drivers, our shops will benefit. The demand will be there to lead to increased airlift to Dominica. Our supermarkets will have to expand to meet demand. Dominica will be promoted all over the world. We will benefit from when Kapinski and Hilton and Marriott advertise their hotels around the world. We will benefit. So, Mr. Speaker, we must position ourselves to take advantage of all of these opportunities. This will touch the lives of all of us, and we must defend and protect it. So when we stay there and we say that nothing is happening, that there's no economic growth, there's no benefit, there's unemployment, these are the opportunities that the government is creating for the people. We need to take advantage of it. This is an example, Madam Speaker, of government working for the people. Madam Speaker, I just need to respond to what Senator Baptiste said in relation to the site of the hotel, the Range Hotel in the Cabrits. And we must be careful of trying to engage in scaremongering. I am informed, Madam Speaker, that since sometime in 2007, the planning department had prepared a land use plan for the Cabrits area. And it's my understanding that the plan identified the area where Range is now building as an area for tourism development. So I don't know why it is that we're trying to give this impression now that somehow we're doing something wrong and we're going to damage the environment and so on. The Minister of Planning has indicated that an EIA has been requested and this has been submitted to the Planning Department. Madam Speaker, Senator Baptiste also says that economic citizens will come here and buy up all our land. Madam Speaker, we've had this program in existence since 1993 for 23 years. Have we seen that? Have we seen that? And he spoke about some people having some land, by the river, having built by the river and he not having access. I am sure, Madam Speaker, that if we investigated, those people are not economic citizens. So why try to bring it under the ambit of the economic citizenship program. Madam Speaker, how many of us have families who live abroad, who are owners of lands and businesses in other countries? Why are we so insular? Why do we not want to open up to other people and we expect this country to develop? We have to be more welcoming to others, Madam Speaker. So, Madam Speaker, the leader of the opposition said something in his address that I think that I need to speak to, and that is the question. He said that we are selling diplomatic passports. And I must speak to this, Madam Speaker. I think we need to be responsible in what we say. It is not only the people in Dominica that are hearing what we say.
Can I ask the member to contain himself lest I be needing to take subsidiary steps?
Yes. Thank you, Madam Speaker. So, Madam Speaker, as I said, we need to be responsible in what we say. It is not only those of us here or only the people in Dominica that are hearing what we say. And we should not make statements like that with no proof, especially not at this level, Madam Speaker. So, Madam Speaker, I wish to state for the record, I know that Senator Fountain is trying to distract me, but he will not distract me. He will not succeed. I wish to state for the record, Madam Speaker, that no diplomatic passports are issued under the Citizenship by Investment Program, and no diplomatic passports have ever been sold by this government.
Okay,
Madam Speaker,
that's enough. Can I tell the senator, will you be quiet, please? You are disturbing the person and you are preventing. You will have your turn to say what you have to say. You have your medium. Look, I'm not going to tell you so again. I'm not going to tell you so again. You had your turn to speak. It is over. And you have to learn to control yourself. Well, then, if you can't stand lies, you would be surprised at what I would tell you. But, you know, if you can't, you're free to go. I'm not going to tell you so again. I'll just invoke the standing order necessary. You're disturbing the House. And I will not tell you so again, unless I move to go under Standing Order 50. You must control yourself. Two things I want these members to do: control themselves and learn the standing orders.
But you see, Madam Speaker, one of the things they say is that the truth hurts. So, Madam Speaker, Dominica is a small country. And we cannot develop this country without the assistance of the more developed countries of the world. We also cannot afford to set up consulates and embassies all over the world. And therefore we identify people who have resources, who are successful, and who have access to and influence with governments to act on our behalf, to seek out opportunities. We make them ambassadors so that they have sufficient rank to engage on our behalf. And we issue them with diplomatic passports to facilitate their travel on our behalf. If the opposition knows of any other way that Dominica can have a physical presence in numerous cities around the world at no cost to the state, we are open to receiving your suggestions. But you all have no suggestions, you all just have criticisms. Madam Speaker, we have been fortunate over the years to have attracted a wide range of successful business and professional practitioners who readily agree to serve Dominica at no cost whatsoever to the government and people of Dominica. 99% of them have served us with distinction. In instances as can happen, one or two may have fallen below acceptable standards in their conduct or performance. We have moved swiftly to counteract this and correct it. So this should not be occasions, Madam Speaker, for us to gloat and for us to seek to encourage bad press for our country. It is sad, Madam Speaker, very sad, that people who are elected to serve the interests of the people of Dominica would form alliances with non-Dominicans to tear down the image of Dominica for partisan political purposes. We need to put Dominica first. As the Prime Minister said, wrap our utterances around our flag. That statement should not be treated with scorn, Madam Speaker. We need to be more patriotic. We need as a people to stop tearing down each other and causing aspersions on the integrity of others just because we can. Because you do not like a person, or because that person does not support you, or you are not familiar with their background, or the truth hurts you. That is not a basis on which to scandalize people. That is not the basis on which to scandalize the name of Dominica. And I'm sure there'll be lots of scandalizing going on after today, as we see. All of us are Dominicans, and all of us need to work together to develop the country, Madam Speaker. And I was pleased to hear the member for Wesley. At least he was able to stand up in this House and acknowledge the good account that the Honorable Minister for Social Services had done in respect of her ministry. Although I would say, Madam Speaker, that most of the rest of his contribution was seriously misguided. But, Madam Speaker, he had the courage to stand up and acknowledge good work. So, Madam Speaker, there should be more such acknowledgement from the opposition, because this government is doing good work. It is doing good work. It is there for all of us to see if we just would look. Now, Madam Speaker, in his rebuttal to the budget, the leader of the opposition quoted numerous times from an IMF document in his presentation to the House. And what are some of the things that he left out, Madam Speaker? Or maybe he just missed it. In the same document, Madam Speaker, it states, and I quote, "Executive directors of the IMF noted the economic impact on Dominica caused by Tropical Storm Erica in August 2015 and commended the authorities for their policy response. The directors supported the accommodation of reconstruction expenditures over the medium term and emphasized the importance of financing the reconstruction activities within fiscally sustainable bounds. They noted that the fiscal measures already passed are appropriate and consistent with the commitments in the rapid credit facility, and the improvements in tax administration are yielding additional resources. Moreover, the government is providing shelter to displaced families and has made significant progress in the plans for the relocation of the affected population into safer areas. The public investment program has been reprioritized, and there is progress in the identification of official lending and grant financing. The government has developed a macroeconomic plan that is financially sustainable and accommodates the large reconstruction expenditure estimated at 65% of GDP. On the upside, the outlook could benefit from persistently low oil prices and its pass-through to electricity costs, and the construction of 2 large hotel projects that could boost construction activities and employment in the near term, while also increasing potential output. The Economic Citizenship Program revenues could also be higher than expected if the recent surge in demand persists, and also after recent changes to this program with a new investment option at a higher fee. The IMF also made other recommendations which the government has no difficulty with and will be taken on board. Madam Speaker, as a result of the satisfaction of the IMF, a loan was approved under the Rapid Credit Facility and has been fully disbursed. Madam Speaker, according to the opposition, this budget has nothing to stimulate growth. I just want to list a few things in this budget, and we will let the people decide for themselves. The measure to increase the VAT threshold will help the private sector and make for an improvement of efficiency in tax administration. The 2 loan facilities proposed for the tourism and agriculture sectors respond to the suggestion for greater access to capital. 10 million for agriculture, 15 million for the tourism sector. 25 million. Investments under the CBIP in increasing our hotel plans. I have already outlined the benefits to all of us. The pursuit of geothermal energy development. This is government's way of addressing the reduction in energy costs in a sustainable way. I should also note, Madam Speaker, that government has already removed the duties on some items such as LED bulbs to encourage more efficient ways of using energy, and as a result to reduce costs to consumers. We have announced measures, Madam Speaker, to help our vulnerable elderly folk, 70 and over, and those of pensionable age to have not less than $300 a month. We must not forget the other things that they can benefit from, Madam Speaker. Free health care, Yes, we care assistance, and in some instances, free cooking gas. Madam Speaker, those are things that we need to take cognizance of. The issue of delinquent fathers will be addressed, Madam Speaker. There are many women in our society today who are struggling to meet the needs of their children because the fathers are not pulling their weight. They make our women guay, they make them struggle, Madam Speaker. They make them come and ask them for money, and they embarrass them and they make them go away empty-handed, Madam Speaker. That is what some of our fathers are doing in this country, Madam Speaker. That is not right. That is not right, and we will do everything as a government that we can to assist those mothers, to get fathers to make adequate provision for their children. And I must say, Madam Speaker, Senator Monell yesterday when she was speaking was expressing concern about fathers who may not be able to afford, and she was worried about them being made to pay up or go up. If you listen very clearly to the Prime Minister's speech, what he said was that those fathers who are able to, those who have the means to, and they do not care for their children, they will either pay up or go up. And I'm sure you agree with that, Senator Monell. So we need to protect our children. And there's a lot more, Madam Speaker, but we have heard much of it here in the debate already, and I do not intend to go into all of it. Madam Speaker, I wish to speak briefly on the issue of correspondent banking and de-risking. The Leader of the Opposition seemed to suggest in his rebuttal that we in the Eastern Caribbean Currency Union are not doing enough, and that we should be looking at the interest of the ECCU and going it alone, not as CARICOM. But Madam Speaker, this is not just an Eastern Caribbean Currency Union issue. It's not just an OECS issue. All of us in CARICOM are affected by this threat. Indeed, Madam Speaker, it is not just a Caribbean threat. This affects the Pacific, it affects Africa, it affects Central Asia. And Madam Speaker, the head of the IMF very recently indicated that this has the potential to become a systemic risk if it is not adequately addressed. So we cannot go it alone, Madam Speaker, as OECS. We are too small. We have to put the collective heads of CARICOM together to come up with a solution to this problem. I should point out to this House that the lead head on this matter for CARICOM is the Prime Minister of Antigua and Barbuda, who is also the chairman of the Monetary Council of the OECS. A holistic approach, Madam Speaker, is being addressed, or is being pursued in fact to deal with this problem. We are lobbying the government, Treasury Department, congressmen, institutions such as the IMF and the World Bank. We're looking at options to create our own correspondent banks. We're looking at regulatory issues to strengthen our adherence to AML and CFT procedures. In fact, Madam Speaker, at the last meeting of the Monetary Council, which was last week on the 22nd of July, the following was decided, and if you permit me to, I will quote. Council, the Monetary Council, therefore agreed that urgent and ongoing discussions on correspondent banking relations geared towards promoting financial inclusion, trade facilitation in the global market, and monetary policy in general are required. Council approved the ECCB's assumption of full responsibility for AML, CFT regulation of all institutions licensed under the Banking Act. Council also agreed to recommend to member governments, where applicable, that necessary regulations be issued to vest authority in the ECCB for AML, CFT regulations. And as a follow-up to that decision, Madam Speaker, the government of Dominica has already made a request to the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank to submit the changes that are required to our legislation in order to effect the change to our AML CFT regulation. So we are being proactive, Madam Speaker, and we are working together to get this done. And it is clear, Madam Speaker, that the ECCU is an active participant in seeking a satisfactory resolution of these issues for the benefit of all of our CARICOM member states. And it's somewhat surprising, Madam Speaker, that the Leader of the Opposition would express such lack of confidence in CARICOM, but so it is, I suppose. So, Madam Speaker, this government continues to follow an enlightened foreign policy. We see the benefits that we have derived as a result. I have already outlined some of the projects that are ongoing, and there are many more, Madam Speaker, that have been completed. Major infrastructural works, technical assistance, scholarships available for the youth. Madam Speaker, Dominica's human resource development has been significantly enhanced by offers of training from a number of countries and multilateral institutions. Full scholarships for graduates and postgraduate studies have been offered by the People's Republic of China, by Cuba, by New Zealand, Mexico, Chile, Morocco, the OAS, and the Commonwealth Secretariat. We have our nationals also benefiting from short-term training offered by the People's Republic of China, Singapore, Japan, Brazil, United States of America, Austria, and India, among others. Madam Speaker, 12 students left on full scholarships to Cuba this year to study varied disciplines in gastroenterology, general medicine, physical therapy, radiography, civil engineering. Another 11 students will be going to the People's Republic of China soon to study applied psychology, biotechnology, financial management, civil engineering, electronic information, public service administration, chemistry, obstetrics and gynecology, mechanical engineering. So, Madam Speaker, the opportunities are there for all of us to take advantage of. And when we sit and we say that the young men are there and they're asking for guns and so on, we should be telling these people there are opportunities that are available. You can go to school. There are scholarships that are available. There are opportunities available in agriculture. There are opportunities available in tourism. There's so many opportunities that are available in this country now that we did not have 15 years ago, Madam Speaker. And so we thank all of these governments for their generosity and continued support to us. And so, Madam Speaker, in concluding, I want to say a special thank you to the staff of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, particularly after Tropical Storm Erica, Madam Speaker. They went over and above the call of duty to help coordinate all the assistance that was coming in, to provide information, to provide protocol services to visiting dignitaries and delegations. I also thank Ms. Karen Prevost, the former Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, who played an instrumental part in steering the ship of foreign affairs at that critical time. And so we appreciate the hard work of all of the staff. Madam Speaker, having regard to the particular context in which we live today, the challenges that are being experienced by the world over, the contraction in the economy, the terrorism, the exit of Britain from the EU, climate change issues, Madam Speaker, there is a lot that's happening that affects all of us. And having regard to all of those things, the government was able to present a budget that can help to build a resilient Dominica, a budget of hope, Madam Speaker. And I have no hesitation in giving this budget my entire support. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Madam Speaker, I think pretty much all that can be said usefully, almost, in relation to this budget has been said by all of those who have spoken so far. But I certainly would wish to lend my support, to make sure that my support is on record for this 2016-2017 budget. Madam Speaker, it is quite clear to any reasonable and right-minded person who listened to the budget presentation by the Honorable Prime Minister, Minister of Finance, a couple of days ago, that this budget is a comprehensive budget. It was exceptionally well presented, and as some of the previous speakers have indicated, the Prime Minister delivered it with a sense of ease. And Madam Speaker, those of us who have been in the House for some time would have observed our colleagues in the House, the honourable members on the opposite side, and their demeanour during the presentation of that budget speech. And that, in and of itself, Madam Speaker, told its own story. Madam Speaker, it is quite clear to me that the opposition was stunned by the presentation of the budget. Not merely its delivery, but the content, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, this budget in a time of clear crisis, which I will not go into depth but will touch on briefly, was a budget which was presented with no new taxes. Madam Speaker, I would submit that one could stand up and say, honourable members of the House, this is a budget with no new taxes, and sit down. Job done. But, Madam Speaker, it went beyond that. Not only did it present a budget which covered the needs of the country for the coming year without having to impose taxes on the populace, but new monies were made available. The budget provided a total, and you've heard different figures, certainly $15 million to the hotel and restaurant sector, $10 million to the farming sector, and other monies in the budget to other sectors. But notably, Madam Speaker, again, for a consecutive budget, our seniors were thought of and serious steps were taken to address the plight of those who are seniors, those who have given their years to the country and to where we are now, and to our ability to have sustained, for example, Erica, and to have made the level of progress that we have made, albeit, of course, there's more progress that can be made. Because, Madam Speaker, it is not insignificant that the sum that was provided for the over 70s was increased by 50%, Madam Speaker. I heard the Leader of the Opposition indicating that it should have been higher. But, Madam Speaker, as with the rest of his contribution or response to the budget presentation by the Honourable Prime Minister and Minister of Finance, there was no substance to what he was presenting. Madam Speaker, I think that it would have been an interesting change in the attitude that has been demonstrated in this House, but certainly in this case would have been appropriate for at least one member of the opposition to have stood up and congratulated the Prime Minister and Minister of Finance on the presentation of the budget that we heard a few days ago. Doubtless that is too much to expect in the current circumstances. Madam Speaker, the Leader of the Opposition in his presentation, or his response to the budget presentation, if I understood him correctly, was repeating something that he has stated outside of this House, somehow asserting that the opposition should be consulted and given an active role in the preparation of the budget. It is somewhat astonishing to hear the Leader of the Opposition articulating that view. Of course, it is always open to the Leader of the Opposition, as it is indeed to any of our citizens, to put forward suggestions to the government, or more directly to the Ministry of Finance, or indeed the Minister of Finance. There's nothing at all that prevents anybody from writing, or indeed if you meet the Minister of Finance, making suggestions as to things that one believes should be included in the budget. But for somebody who is in politics, and somebody who one would expect understands the Westminster system, which is the system that we have in our political arena, to say that the opposition should be given an active and positive role in the preparation and determination of the budget expresses an astonishing lack of understanding of our political system. The Westminster system, Madam Speaker, first past the post is what it's called in some terms. Others call it winner take all. That's what it is, Madam Speaker. The government is the government of the day, and the government will decide what budget it needs to imply and impose so as to carry out the program that it has in mind for the term of office of the year that the budget covers. So, Madam Speaker, I think it's important that that is made clear, and that if the Leader of the Opposition and his colleagues are not aware of that, that they take cognizance of that fact. Madam Speaker, the other matter that I think is important that I address is the constant claim that Dominica is doing so badly We heard references in the House over the past couple of days to some of our sister jurisdictions. And, for example, St. Kitts was referred to as this beacon of light, beacon on the hill, and that should be followed and emulated, apparently, in all respects. And that the only jurisdiction that has unemployment, as I understand it from the opposition, is Dominica. The only jurisdiction, the only country that is facing challenges is Dominica. And that, Madam Speaker, is a level of mischief that is perpetrated. And the sole purpose, it seems to me, for that is to seek to suggest that Dominica has problems because of a government which the opposition would claim is not looking out for the interests of the population and the people. Madam Speaker, with your permission, I would like just to read from a report, with your leave. It's an ECLAC report. Madam Speaker, you may be familiar with ECLAC as the Economic Commission for Latin America and the Caribbean. Madam Speaker, that report was published on the 28th of July, which was yesterday. And it's published under the heading, Caribbean Growth Rate to Contract This Year. And it reads, Madam Speaker, and I'm obviously reading extracts of it, but I think it's important that I read this into the record for the point that I make. Latin America and Caribbean countries will show a minus 0.8% contraction in their growth rate in 2016, marking a steeper decline than in 2015, where the decline was minus 0.5%, according to a new report released on Wednesday by the Economic Commission for Latin America and the Caribbean, ECLAC. It goes on to state, Madam Speaker, the United Nations Regional Organization presented its Economic Survey of Latin America and the Caribbean 2016, in which it stresses the urgent need to mobilize investment, both public and private, to promote the region's economic recovery and meet the challenges. The survey indicates that in the external arena, the global economy will maintain low levels of growth, which will be accompanied by a slow expansion in trade, which has not managed to recover the levels seen before the international financial crisis. On top of this, the report points to the deteriorated prices for the region's commodities exports and greater international financial uncertainty and volatility, which have increased since the United Kingdom voted to leave the European Union, the so-called Brexit. This decision has also produced greater risk to the world's future growth. The report continues, Madam Speaker. The report forecasts the Caribbean will suffer a minus 0.3% contraction in its gross domestic product, GDP. According to ECLAC's report, 6 countries are expected to show an economic contraction in 2016. That's, Madam Speaker, 6 countries in the Latin American and Caribbean region. Venezuela, minus 8%. Suriname, minus 4%. Brazil, minus 3.5%. Trinidad and Tobago, minus 2.5%. Ecuador, minus 2.5%. And Argentina, minus 1.5%. The economic deceleration will have an impact on the urban unemployment rate, which in 2015 was 7.4%, and which is expected to increase to 8.1% in 2016. Inflation, meanwhile, should behave similarly to that of last year, with greater pressures on southern economies. And for the purpose of the exercise, Madam Speaker, it concludes, in its Economic Survey 2016, ECLAC calls for resuming the path of growth and mobilizing financial flows for development financing. And Madam Speaker, I thought it was useful to read a rather more substantial portion of that report or summary of it than I might otherwise have done, because, Madam Speaker, a number of themes, I think, were touched in that extract. One, Madam Speaker, is the clear fact that a contraction has taken place and is taking place throughout the region, Latin America and the Caribbean. And so when it is suggested that the challenges we face in Dominica are unique to Dominica because somehow it's suggested of incompetence in government, that clearly, Madam Speaker, is not borne out by any facts, and certainly not by the facts of the report that I just referred to from that august organization, ECLAC. It also, Madam Speaker, is important to recognize that the report is highlighting the need to mobilize investment. And Madam Speaker, that is important in the context of the CBI revenues that the opposition seem perplexed about because those revenues have increased so substantially. Madam Speaker, what this government has been doing is precisely that, mobilizing investment and raising revenues, much needed revenues, which as this budget has shown, have served us now in our time of need, when we have been able to rely on those revenues to address a number of budgetary requirements. It also, Madam Speaker, the report highlights the fact that the international crisis that was the world was confronted with some years ago is still today affecting us, and indeed is affecting the world. Madam Speaker, I think that those factors are important. I'm sure, Madam Speaker, that the opposition are well aware of those factors, but they choose for their own reasons to ignore them. But I think, Madam Speaker, it's helpful to bring this to their attention and to the attention of the wider listening and watching public. Madam Speaker, the issue of money laundering. In this House, in the response to the budget presentation, it was suggested that reports of money laundering are being made to the authorities that were left nameless. But, Madam Speaker, I think the authorities would obviously include the government, and it would include specific individuals, officials. For example, Madam Speaker, one would have to assume that it's referring to the officials at the Financial Intelligence Unit. It's referring to the officials who serve in our police force, and indeed to those who serve in other government offices and agencies, including, presumably, the Office of the Attorney General. Madam Speaker, as I indicated when that was being said by the Leader of the Opposition, I asked for details because, Madam Speaker, it is complete and utter nonsense that allegations of money laundering are made to any official and that they are not addressed. That sort of scaremongering, that sort of irresponsible commentary, Madam Speaker, must be condemned, and I have no hesitation in doing so. I condemn that scaremongering, that misleading and completely untruthful maligning of the police and other officials. It is wholly, Madam Speaker, unreasonable, and it really is something that does not behove this House and should not be uttered in this House, unless, Madam Speaker, the person, the member choosing to make such utterances is prepared to produce evidence, Madam Speaker. Evidence, not gossip or tittle-tattle, but evidence in support of such serious allegations. Madam Speaker, the issue of Panama Papers, which is being floated about, that was raised in the House. There has been, so far as I'm aware, Madam Speaker, no evidence of any wrongdoing on the part of this government insofar as the Panama Papers are concerned, or indeed any other papers or any other matter. I am not aware, Madam Speaker, of any allegation of substance against this government. And again, I suggest and throw out the challenge, if and when anybody has such an allegation of substance, then it should be directed to the appropriate authorities. And certainly, in the role of Attorney General, I would invite anybody with such credible allegation to present it to me. And then you will be able to not just say that the government is not doing, but you'll be able to say that the Attorney General is not doing. Until then, Madam Speaker, I would suggest, again, that such irresponsible allegations and claims not be persisted with. I should also say, for those who may not be aware, that the registering of companies, offshore companies, is a legal, illegitimate exercise. The law provides for it. In fact, Madam Speaker, the United Workers' Party, when in office in 1996, passed what I believe is the first IBC, International Business Companies legislation that we've had in this country. So clearly, they recognized that it was legitimate. And Madam Speaker, that legislation is in every jurisdiction in the region. Like most things, I'm sure that it's possible to misuse or to abuse what are, in fact, highly useful and legitimate vehicles which are used in the commercial and business sector. It's much like, Madam Speaker, saying that computers are bad because somebody chooses to misuse a computer. The computer is a valid tool to use to improve your business or other functions, but of course a person may choose to use it. In this instance, Madam Speaker, there is no evidence of any misuse of the international business sector by the government. Madam Speaker, I was going to say more on the CBI, but that has been addressed by a number of those before me, and indeed the Honourable Minister for Foreign Affairs dealt with that issue very thoroughly and comprehensively. I would perhaps, Madam Speaker, simply add my support on record to the CBI program. It is a program, Madam Speaker, as I've said previously in this House, that I have no difficulty with somebody saying to me that they have an issue with the program from their philosophical position, namely that they believe that citizenship should only be available to people by dint of birth or perhaps marriage or that sort of thing. But, Madam Speaker, that's a philosophical argument that we can have. The government has chosen, and indeed, more importantly, every government that we have had in this country, by which I mean the Freedom Party when it was in office, subsequent to the Freedom Party, the opposition now, the United Workers' Party when it was in office, and this current Labour Party administration, all have seen the virtue of having a CBI, or if you will, an economic citizenship program, if you will, a means of citizenship being acquired by someone other than birth, but by means of an investment, a contribution to the financial resources and development of the country. And Madam Speaker, you've heard other members address the wide spectrum of countries in North America, in Europe, in the Pacific and elsewhere that offer citizenship by investment programs of one sort or another. So, Madam Speaker, it is a system that has been around for a long time. Indeed, we have had ours since 1993, and quite clearly, it's a system of raising revenues, bringing revenues into the country, revenue flows that we would not otherwise have, which can be and are being used to the benefit of the country as a whole and the development of the country. And, Madam Speaker, I think, certainly from my perspective, I have no hesitation in supporting it. We are ensuring that the system that we operate has rigorous due diligence. That has been said on numerous occasions. Due diligence, which we engage companies ourselves, reputable companies, to undertake, but also we seek and obtain assistance and support in the process of reviewing applicants from other friends. And Madam Speaker, it is, in my view, probably as tight as it can be. If, of course, as in anything else, if of course we become aware of any shortcoming or weakness in the system, it will be addressed, as has happened in the past. But, Madam Speaker, I think I can stand and say with a great degree of confidence that the program that we have in place is a strong, robust program that provides for the needs of our country by way of inflows of investment, but also ensures our security and the security of our regional and international partners. Madam Speaker, perhaps in conclusion I should touch briefly the point that was raised as regards the funds from the from the Citizenship by Investment Program, the CBI, and its relationship to the Consolidated Fund. And indeed, the Senator Fontaine, in his address earlier on, said this, if I understood him correctly, when seeking to quote Section 76 of the Constitution, which was referred to by the Leader of the Opposition. Senator Fontaine said, all revenues or other monies raised or received by Dominica must be paid into the consolidated fund. But, Madam Speaker, that is not what Section 76 of the Constitution says. What Section 76 of the Constitution actually says, Madam Speaker, is this: all revenues or other monies raised or received by Dominica, open brackets, not being revenues or other monies that are payable by or under any law for the time being in force in Dominica into some other fund established for a specific purpose, close brackets, shall be paid into and from a consolidated fund. Madam Speaker, the CBI is clearly a program that is created under law. There's regulations under which underpin it. The payment of the investments and other sums under the CBI are provided for in the law. And Madam Speaker, it is quite clear that the creation of the consolidated fund is providing for funds which do not have a specific purpose. And Madam Speaker, the assertion that the revenues generated under the CBI have either been underreported or not reported, as I understand it, Madam Speaker, is clearly inaccurate. In this budget, Madam Speaker, some $99 million appears in the revenues, and the explanation is there as to what that is being expended for. Madam Speaker, as I understand the actual process, the process that is in place now is essentially the same process that has been in place throughout the existence of the CBI program and its forerunner, the Economic Citizenship Program, which started in 1993. And Madam Speaker, as I am advised, the requirement is that where the fund, a need for the funding has been identified and is reflected in the budget, as in this case, for example, there are a number of projects that total $99 million, and the budget reflects those, and the budget also reflects, as it has to, where that money is coming from. And it reflects that money is coming from the Citizenship by Investment program. And Madam Speaker, those funds form part of the consolidated fund which is why, Madam Speaker, you see it reflected in the estimates provided to us. And Madam Speaker, the balance, which I think was the suggestion in relation to what was said, that last budget there was some 25 million in the budget, but following from the figures that are now reflected, there must have been more. My understanding, Madam Speaker, is that there's a complete misunderstanding of the entire process. Madam Speaker, from what I am advised, one has a number of different strands to the whole process of financial accounting of government funding. So, for example, Madam Speaker, one has the budget, which is presented to the House and which the House must approve. And as is identified in Section 77 and 78 and I believe 79 of the same Constitution, following on from Section 76, there's clear provision that expenditure of money cannot be made unless those monies, that expenditure is from the consolidated fund. But, Madam Speaker, you have the budget, which is a report and approval of Parliament. You have the Accountant General, who has to review the accounts and present accounts within a specific time of the end of the financial year. I understand, Madam Speaker, that is some 3 months or so. So the end of the financial year is the end of June. So there's 3 months in which the Accountant General has to effectively, if I use parlance, collate the government finances and present those finances. That report, or those of the Accountant General, is what the Director of Audit, as I understand it, then reviews and compiles his or her report. which will subsequently come to the House, containing all the accounts and revenues and expenditure of the government. And thereby, again, the House has an opportunity to examine, comment, challenge those accounts. So, Madam Speaker, the funds coming in from the Economic Citizenship Program are clearly provided for, recorded, and reported through different means, Madam Speaker, and can clearly be checked by anybody. In addition, of course, to the fact that we have the Public Accounts Committee, which is a committee of this House, which clearly can, if it wishes to, make any necessary inquiry into those funds. So, Madam Speaker, the accounting for funds from the Economic Citizenship Program is equally robustly reported and recorded, as indeed are other funds from the government, and the Minister for Foreign Affairs gave a very clear explanation of the funding that was received by way of grants and how that was expended and how it was accounted for. So, Madam Speaker, all in all, Madam Speaker, this budget is a budget which has addressed the needs of the nation going forward. We all know that some 11 months ago we suffered devastation, destruction, and I suspect many would have felt that we would not be where we are today. But we have recovered with remarkable speed. We have a lot of work to do still, but I think, Madam Speaker, the government should be given some credit for that. The members of the opposition were given an opportunity to take a greater role in helping to develop and helping us to recover. They chose, Madam Speaker, for reasons of their own, they chose not to grasp that opportunity, a golden opportunity, a remarkable opportunity, I would say, Madam Speaker, that the Prime Minister extended to the opposition to come on board and help in the immediate aftermath of Tropical Storm Erica. But there we are, Madam Speaker. I guess that is the circumstance as we have it. But I, Madam Speaker, in all of those circumstances, will have no hesitation whatsoever in giving my wholehearted and full support to this remarkable budget.
Madam Speaker, I move that this honourable House be suspended. Do I do that yet? Not yet? Oh, sorry. Okay.
I know, okay? Need some light, the black one. Thank you. I need some light.
Did you put it there?
Switch down there? Thank you. Yeah. Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, it's been 3 days of hard work, Madam Speaker, in terms of the government defending its budget, Madam Speaker, as was described by the Prime Minister in very difficult circumstances, Madam Speaker. And therefore, Madam Speaker, there is not much more that I can add to the discussion taking place here this evening, Madam Speaker. But I want to say, Madam Speaker, that as the longest-serving member of this Parliament, Madam Speaker, I'm into my 21st or 22nd year, I want to take this opportunity to congratulate the members of the government side for the excellent way in which they have defended this budget and made their contribution, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I was very impressed with the two senators who are not members of the cabinet, Senator Binwa and Dennis Charles, not a senator but elected member for the Suffolk constituency, Madam Speaker, who gave very excellent presentations, Madam Speaker, to this debate, Madam Speaker. But, Madam Speaker, In my brief remarks, Madam Speaker, I would like to first of all begin by thanking all those who prayed for me and supported me during my absence from the state, Madam Speaker. And while I do not want, Madam Speaker, to go mentioning names, Madam Speaker, I must make special mention of the Prime Minister and the Cabinet, Madam Speaker, for the tremendous support that I received during my 5 months absence from this Parliament. To the Prime Minister, Madam Speaker, in particular, who took it very, very personally, Madam Speaker, including heading a delegation with some members of Cabinet to visit me while I was out of state, Madam Speaker. And that shows, Madam Speaker, and gave me the greatest sense of admiration for the caring nature of the Honorable Prime Minister and the Cabinet, which I'm so happy to be part of, Madam Speaker. Also, Madam Speaker, to Father Thomas and Evangelist Peter Augustine, who visited me in the hospital, Madam Speaker, for all the prayer warriors from all over the country, Madam Speaker. And I wish I could say this for all the members of the Parliament, Madam Speaker. But, you know, having listened to the United Workers' Party radio, Madam Speaker, you would have known some of the wishes that they expressed, Madam Speaker, as far as my coming back to the House was concerned, Madam Speaker. But I'm back, Madam Speaker, bigger and better, Madam Speaker, bigger and better. And to you too, Madam Speaker. No, Madam Speaker, I'm toned down. As you noticed, I've lost a lot of weight and bigger and stronger. Oh, smaller and better. Madam Speaker, toned down a little bit, lost a lot of weight, Madam Speaker. And I will demonstrate during this discussion, Madam Speaker, the impact or the effect that having had the opportunity to reflect, Madam Speaker, for 5 months out of state, the positive impact, while removing some of the negatives, but the positive impact that this absence, Madam Speaker, has done for me, Madam Speaker. And, Madam Speaker, I had a lot of time to think and to reflect on my whole service to country and what we as Parliament, because I was there, Madam Speaker, right in the Erica period, Madam Speaker. I left on the 7th of September. Madam Speaker, I look at where we were as a country and what Erica did to us and the efforts that were being made by this government to get us out of the malaise, Madam Speaker. And I'm saying that if at that time we had a bipartisan approach to this crisis, Madam Speaker, we would have been much further, Madam Speaker, as far as the recovery and the development is concerned. And not only that, Madam Speaker, even from 2000, when we got into government, in a crisis too, Madam Speaker. In fact, I'm not sure which crisis was worse, Erica or the crisis of 1995 to 2000. But, Madam Speaker, in our time, I believe the two biggest crises that have hit this country was the crisis of 1995 to 2000 under the United Workers' Party and the crisis brought on by Erica, Madam Speaker. And permit me, Madam Speaker, to quote from the Hansards of 2001 budget, Madam Speaker. That, Madam Speaker, under section labeled the state of the economy, it says since January of this year, which is 2000, we got into government when was the election? In January. And the budget debate was held in June, so 6 months, Madam Speaker. It says the recent performance of the Dominican economy has been the subject of several published reports by the International Monetary Fund, the IMF, the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank, the Ministry of Finance, Madam Speaker. And it says in addition to its annual Article 4 surveillance report, which was presented in January, the IMF in March presented a review of the economic performance, which was commissioned by the new government upon the assumption of office. The ECCB report was also specifically commissioned by the government on April 17th and delivered to the Honorable, delivered on April 17th, the details of the review of the economic performance in 1999, Madam Speaker. I goes on to say, Madam Speaker, that the report raised several fundamental points, which are summarized as follows. That throughout the last decade in Dominica's economy, we experienced a protracted period of sluggish economic growth, averaging just 2.5%, the lowest in the OECD sub-region. That was in 2000, Madam Speaker, and the reporting on 1999, when the United Workers' Party was in government, Madam Speaker. It says, Madam Speaker, that the fiscal performance has been particularly weak, with current surpluses being insufficient to make any meaningful contribution to the public investment effort, Madam Speaker. That is commenting on the performance of the United Workers' Party in 1999, Madam Speaker. It says further that the resulting reliance on a mix of domestic overdraft financing, arrears accumulation, and more recently, external borrowing on commercial terms is unsustainable. And Madam Speaker, we're speaking here of the $70 million borrowed by the United Workers' Party in 1999, Madam Speaker, on commercial rates, which went towards, the majority of it went towards recurrent expenditure, Madam Speaker, that is paying wages and salaries of public officers, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, it says further that in the absence of urgent corrective measures, the untenable fiscal position will continue to compromise our resource mobilization efforts in support of its capital program, which itself is pivotal to the economic recovery process, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, it says that the weak economic performance is attributed to a variety of factors, chief among which are: 1, the decline in the banana industry. The decline in the banana industry, Madam Speaker. We're talking about 1999. And with pressures associated with the opening up of the European market in the mid-1990s and the WTO challenges to preferential regime, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, it says the slowdown of public investment as a result of the combined effects of reduced concessionary financing flows and the weak fiscal position, Madam Speaker. We're reporting in 1999, for 1999 in 2000, Madam Speaker. And it says, Madam Speaker, the failure to implement timely adjustment measures, Madam Speaker. That a sustainable recovery will require the implementation of urgent policy initiatives to stabilize the fiscal account and resources to the national debt, Madam Speaker, complemented by a consistent set of measures to support the acceleration of the diversification process, with particular emphasis on facilitating the expansion of the banana agricultural sector, tourism, and services, Madam Speaker. And Madam Speaker, it goes on, and it goes on, and it goes on, Madam Speaker. And Madam Speaker, I raise this to say, Madam Speaker, that the opposition continues to make reference to 16 years of this administration governance of this country, Madam Speaker. But, Madam Speaker, that is the situation, Madam Speaker, as outlined by Thomson Fontaine, Madam Speaker, who then was employed with the IMF, Madam Speaker. Thomson Fontaine, Dr. Thomson Fontaine. That is his report, Madam Speaker, of 1999. Say that again, Madam Speaker.
He was Thomson Fontaine when he wrote this, but he's also you have to say that.
The Senator Thomson Fontaine, Madam Speaker. He, Madam Speaker, was the architect of that economic situation in Dominica in 1999, Madam Speaker. And you listen to Thomson Fontaine, Madam Speaker, and you'd never believe that this senator was aware, Madam Speaker, of that situation. Madam Speaker, DBMC between 1995 and 1999 was indebted of over $38 million, Madam Speaker, under the Banana Party. Between 1995 and 1999, Madam Speaker, that was the state of the banana industry, Madam Speaker, which on several occasions this government has been accused of having wrecked the industry, Madam Speaker, but that was the industry in 1999 under the United Workers' Party government, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, it says further that we owed Social Security at the time $21.7 million, Madam Speaker, in this very report. Madam Speaker, by one, excessive borrowing from the Social Security, and by not paying to Social Security monies that were taken from the wages of employees of the state, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker. So monies were extracted, was taken, Madam Speaker, from public officers in particular, and not paid, Madam Speaker. You take it, Madam Speaker, and I don't understand, and maybe there's another economic term for describing when you take somebody's thing and you don't give it to them, Madam Speaker. There has to be a way of explaining that. Siphon. Siphon. Huh? Anyway, Madam Speaker. So, Madam Speaker, they took the people's money, take it from their salary, Madam Speaker, extracted it from their salary, and did not pay it to Social Security as they were supposed to, Madam Speaker, thus putting the lives, the pension of these hardworking Dominicans in serious crisis, Madam Speaker. That was the situation in 1999, Madam Speaker, when this government, under the United Workers' Party government, Madam Speaker. Employment, Madam Speaker, was 30%, 30 to 34% among the youth, Madam Speaker, under the unemployment, Madam Speaker. 30% of persons between the ages of 30 and 34, Madam Speaker. That was the employment situation in 1999, Madam Speaker, following the elections, Madam Speaker. And Madam Speaker, we will deal with the relevance, And the debt, Madam Speaker, at that time was 80% of GDP, $573 million, Madam Speaker. At that same time, Madam Speaker, we were saddled with a $70 million loan, Madam Speaker, at commercial rates. But not only that, Madam Speaker, a sinking fund was established. And our dividends, Madam Speaker, was pledged to that sinking fund. But the interesting thing, Madam Speaker, that sinking fund was controlled and managed by the creditors, Madam Speaker. Normally, and I'm sure that Senator Isaac, and Madam Speaker, I must say that. Madam Speaker, yesterday, if you notice, we were all happy. The leader of the opposition was not there, Madam Speaker. And we had a very cordial, Madam Speaker, you remember for Rosa Central, we were not talking up to yesterday, Madam Speaker. We were not talking. Because, Madam Speaker, he blames me for having declared away his business with the bakery in Portsmouth, Madam Speaker. And, but yesterday, to declare, to make public, Madam Speaker, that he was running a simple bakery in Portsmouth. Take flour, you put some water, some salt, some yeast, you roll that, you put that in the oven, and not plenty work, Madam Speaker. And if you're going to make profit from bread, Madam Speaker, then the water is free. You don't have to pay for the water. Just buy the flour, a little bit of salt, some yeast, you roll the bread, and you sell the bread, Madam Speaker. You understand? And that bakery, Madam Speaker, it collapsed under the management of the member for Rosa Central, Madam Speaker, to a point, Madam Speaker, where the landlord couldn't get paid. So he mashed up the bakery and put all the parts on the sidewalk by the St. John Primary School, Madam Speaker. All the parts of the bakery, the oven, but yes, Madam Speaker, and the little children from behind the non-school that had to take a white piece of plastic and cover it from the rain, Madam Speaker. Just put it, Madam Speaker, on this. Madam Speaker, I was making the point, Madam Speaker, that the leader of the opposition was absent during that period. And the member for the Central, he hugged.
Standing Order 44-1. Subject to the provisions of Standing Order 12 and 13, debate upon any motion, bill, or amendment shall be relevant to such motion, bill or amendment.
This is not a bill. This is the budget, and that is why we allow everybody to go hither, thither, and yon. And I'm telling you that I'm not going to stop him because I didn't stop all the others when they were going hither, thither, and yon.
Prior to the presentation of the response to the budget, you sat in the chair and admonished me to remember that the presentation of the response is subject to the rules of debate in the House.
Yes.
You said that.
Yes.
And I'm now
and I am
pointing
now,
your attention.
I'm telling you, I've ruled on this, you know, this is over.
But Madam Speaker,
I
I'm
have
pointing your
ruled on
attention
it,
to the
it
fact
is over.
of relevance.
I have ruled on it. Look, please take your seat. I have ruled on it, and that is not an arguable point. I am asking you, I decide that, and I've decided not. Will you please take your... Look, I said, can you take your seat, please? Oh, really? I have asked you very nicely. I'm used... Have a very good evening. I know that, yes. Oh no, I surely will have one. That is the leader of the United Workers' Party and the leader of the opposition, who will not understand that during the course of budget, you allow a little leeway, which I have had for so many members. And I have been taking notes of all the things that they said that wasn't in the budget. All of it. But he comes here and he doesn't want a member to talk in the way that he and other members spoke. You know, it's just sad. It is just sad. Okay, no, wait a minute. Let me hear what you're standing for now. Let the member stand. He stands, I will answer him.
Honorable Skerrit, you know. I tell him, shut up.
No.
You, the Prime Minister, yes.
And
Madam Speaker, I stand on a point of order.
yes, let me hear your
Madam
point
Speaker,
of order.
I want to know in this honorable House, if it is right for the members on the other side to be trying to assassinate people's character and professionalism. Remember when I mentioned yesterday, day before yesterday night, when I spoke about honesty, first of all, where is the
No, wait. We are going a little too far. You raise your point of
you held me
order.
back when I said I was trying to lay a foundation that in any budget that people need to be honest, have integrity, be flexible. I mentioned that. The Minister of Water Resource Management, well, you know Petro-Caribbean money business. You know that. You understand? But this dishonest minister is talking
Oh
untruth.
no, well you see, this is what you're doing. You're calling people this. Listen, let me. No, just a minute, please. Just one. Oh, is that what you came for? Please take your seat. But just 1 minute. Yes.
That's a gentleman who sits here every time in Parliament. And here Thompson Fountain, Dr. Thompson Fountain, and the honorable leader of the opposition attacking every single person.
That what, let me tell you, just one moment. The members came to do something, let them do it and finish. I will tell the members one thing. These members have to learn to shake their bags where they sell their coals. Just 1 moment. I was accused this morning, order please. I was accused this morning from preventing members from going to wherever they had to go by not letting them speak. I was reminded at lunchtime, but didn't you see them there after they spoke? They did not go anywhere. They were all there after they spoke. So if after they spoke they sat here instead of going where they had to go, how can I be blamed for keeping them back from going where they want to go? Okay? So members have to be very careful and listen. And I'm asking the public out there to listen. What is going on in this house? The member stayed away for the whole afternoon. He came here and lo and behold, he left the house. He needs to be putting himself in a position where he can shake his bags, where he sold his schools, his 100,000-man march. And don't blame me. No, I'm not vexed. I'm just amazed that people will come here, make accusations, accuse me of preventing members from speaking so that they cannot go and wherever they have to go because they have to stay to talk. And I noted very carefully that there were 4 of them who had spoken who didn't go anywhere. They sat there. And so I want the public to understand I didn't prevent anybody from going anywhere, and I insist that these members must learn to shake their bags where they sold their coals. Yes, you were speaking, Honorable Prime Minister.
Madam Speaker, they're not there, but I'm sure they're listening. This gentleman, Madam Speaker, come to the House, have all sorts of innuendos and aspersions and so forth. Said all sorts of direct accusations. They attacked Dr. Daru. They attacked me. They attacked the entire government. Johnson Drygold, Minister of Agriculture, Honorable Minister of Agriculture. The point is, Madam Speaker, people have to understand that when you attack somebody, you should expect there to be a response. And you must be prepared, if you're giving blows, to take blows. Madam Speaker, I am the person in the politics, in the recent politics in Dominica, who have taken the most blows in Dominica. And I take 99.5 days of blows. But I sit down there, I take my blows. Some of it is politics, and we understand this politics. But they wanted to find an excuse to go, because Parliament for them is nothing serious, Madam Speaker. Because if Parliament was the most serious, especially the budget, Madam Speaker, you could not have had a match when the budget debate was taking place, Madam Speaker. There is nowhere in the world that has ever happened except under the leadership of Mr. Lennox Clinton, Madam Speaker. And the Dominican people must take notice of that. That is why we said in the last election that it would be a travesty on the state of Dominica to elect Mr. Linton as Prime Minister of Dominica. And I'm happy that it did not take us very long from the last elections for Dominicans to understand that the hatred for Roosevelt Skerrit should not be a basis to try to get this working government out of office, and to get people who have no love for people, who have no genuine interest in this country, and who are not prepared to have an honest and frank and transparent debate as we'll be having here today, Madam Speaker, and the days prior, Madam Speaker. So they can go, they'll get a salary like don't work and get the salaries. I mean, you have Parliament. Yes, you can miss Parliament for some reasons. But this is the budget debate, the most important agenda item, or the most important activity in the Parliament's calendar. That's where we're debating the future of the country. But I'm not surprised that they're not there. They like to give blows, but they cannot give blows. But Madam Speaker, that's how it is. That's how it is.
And Madam Speaker, from the budget of when we got in, and I was just making the link between what we met and and trying to bring it to where we are now, Madam Speaker. And to say that members of the opposition were architects of the programs that we had to put in place in 2000 and beyond to rescue the economy of this country, Madam Speaker. And to say that they come here with their hypocrisy, like they don't know nothing about what we met in 2000 when we came into government, Madam Speaker, because they were the ones who mentioned our 16 years of governance in this country, of this economy, Madam Speaker. And that's why I was making reference to our 16 years of governance in the economy, Madam Speaker. That is where I was going, Madam Speaker. And I just started, Madam Speaker, they all gone, no, Madam Speaker. So I tie up now. I'm not sure how to do anything. But Madam Speaker, we'll deal with that. But Madam Speaker, I also listened, Madam Speaker, to the presentations on the other side, particularly that of the leader of the opposition, Madam Speaker. And to me, all I have to do, Madam Speaker, was to go and record some of the programs played on your Q95 for the last 5 years, and I would get the exact same thing that was said here in the Parliament. It was an extension of the program on Q95, Madam Speaker, about Ibrahim Dahim and Susan Holdy and who steal passport and where the panel. But we hear all that already for the last 5 years, Madam Speaker. We've been hearing that. But we've been able to convince the people of Dominica that we had a better plan for the rescue of this country from where it was in 2000 to where we are today, even under Erica, Madam Speaker. That's the point we're making, Madam Speaker. That's the point I was making, I intend to make, Madam Speaker. And they come here, Madam Speaker, and they ask for a bipartisan approach to the budget. That the Prime Minister should invite them in December to call them and say, boys, I want to put my budget together. Come and help me and sit down in the cabinet room, Madam Speaker, and help me to craft the budget. Remember for Roseau Central, he said we should tell them how many passports we're going to sell, what we're going to do with the money, and he will advise us how to spend the money, Madam Speaker. That was what he said in his contribution, Madam Speaker. But, Madam Speaker, the best opportunity we had for a bipartisan approach was immediately after Hurricane Erica, Madam Speaker. That is when we needed all hands on deck, Madam Speaker. That is when we need all ideas to contend, and they were given that opportunity, like was said by the Attorney General. And in less than 1 month, Madam Speaker, in less than 1 month, the leader of the opposition walked out, Madam Speaker, because he could not get the Prime Minister to agree that he will serve 6 months as Prime Minister, and then will serve 6 months and rotate it, Madam Speaker. That is what he was asking, a rotation of the Prime Minister's seat, Madam Speaker. Because he was more concerned about the cabinet room and a little coffee and a little biscuits with eating, working hard all to midnight, Madam Speaker. He was more concerned about that and how to rotate the Prime Ministership of the country. And when he couldn't get that, he walked out, Madam Speaker, left the people of Dominica in crisis for the Dominica Labour Party government alone to fix, Madam Speaker. Alone to fix, Madam Speaker. And now we're on the way to fixing it. They want now to come and share, Madam Speaker. And I was invite them. We didn't invite the Hotel Association. The new budget was coming. You know that the financial year ends in June. You know that there has to be a budget before July. So if you have contributions to make, you send in your contributions and let us discuss those contributions so it could find itself in the budget. And if there is need to call you to further explain and to clarify, then we'll call you. But how I can call you from the start or anything? Since 6 months you want notice to come and just help the government to put the budget together. It's best I just give you the government. It's better I just give you the government. You know, Madam Speaker. And that is the situation, Madam Speaker. If, Madam Speaker, and you know the opposition, Madam Speaker, they call the NEP, lazy people and what we do in mendicant society and we have mendicant society. The Senator from Williams, she said it's okay, she have no problem with it. All you have to do is when they pass 1 year, give them contract with their social security benefits and everything is all right. You have no problem with the NEP, Madam Speaker. The member for Roseau Central, he have no problem. All he want to change the name from National Employment Program to National Internship Program, and he all right with it, Madam Speaker. So even among themselves, they had not discussed an approach, Madam Speaker, to debate the budget, but you're asking us to join you to get an approach to the budget. You can clean your own house, you want to clean my house for me? How are you going to do that, Madam Speaker? And you could see the disjointed, everybody's swinging. So even on the decision by investment program, Madam Speaker, while Senator Isaac said he's not in because you're giving too much little passport and the Haitian passport and Chinese buy the whole country. Then Senator Williams said, well, she don't really have a problem with it. This Isaac said, well, it's all right, just tell me how you're going to spend the money, it's all right. Madam Speaker, this Senator, all he said, Madam Speaker, he have no problem with it, just give them 10 million to share among themselves in the opposition. That is what the gentleman said, Madam Speaker. And I'm not sure who sent him to say that, Madam Speaker. It's only he and I, so maybe that is the message they him to carry. Just go there and say, give us 10 million in this city money and everything will be all right, Madam Speaker. That's what the guy said. Just give us 10 million. He didn't. The Senator, Madam Speaker. Yes, Madam Speaker. He said, just give them 10 million. the opposition, he said he didn't say to do anything, just give us 10 million and then we wouldn't trouble you, we'll leave all you alone, just give us our share from it, Madam Speaker. So, Madam Speaker, you could see that even among themselves, Madam Speaker, and these are the guys who want to run the country, the members of the opposition, Madam Speaker, they want to run the country, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, we listen to, Senator Thompson Fontaine, Madam Speaker. He gave us CV, Madam Speaker. CV, impressive, Madam Speaker. Well, I'm not sure who he was talking to, because the leader of the opposition wasn't there, Madam Speaker. So it seemed to me that he was sending out a message that this is my qualification. I'm very good in finance, I'm good in economics. I should really be the next Prime Minister shadowing Honorable Rufus Skerrit, not Lennox Linton, Madam Speaker. And I think it was embarrassing, really. I think it was embarrassment, Madam Speaker, for you to have your leader there, Madam Speaker. You know he didn't complete high school, Madam Speaker. And to sit there reading a glowing CV, Madam Speaker, to me, Madam Speaker, it's marks of disrespect. I don't know what you think. I don't know what the members of the public think. I don't know what my colleagues think, but that's how I see it, Madam Speaker. Embarrassing, Madam Speaker. Oh, he fixed the problem in Afghanistan. Yes. And he fixed the problem in Vietnam. And he fixed the problem in Niger, Madam Speaker. And he fixed the problem in St. Kitts, Madam Speaker. This Senator Thompson Fontaine, Madam Speaker, can fix everybody's financial problems, Madam Speaker. The only problem he cannot fix is his own, Madam Speaker. The only problem he didn't tell us he fixed was his own, Madam Speaker. And he attacked me, Madam Speaker, because he was the one who said that I have, and he come there trying to talk about what we tried to misquote him. When I was on the record, saying, Minister Austria, don't you have a conscience? Can you sleep at night? You have the people $250 million, Madam Speaker. Direct attack, Madam Speaker. And they want to tell me I attacking people, personalities, and so on. Madam Speaker, the man called me a money launderer. That's what he called me, Madam Speaker. The man called me a thief, Madam Speaker, in those statements, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, subjecting himself to litigation, Madam Speaker, if I so choose. The only thing is, Madam Speaker, I'm not sure to what end, what was the value of suing Thompson Fontaine. I mean, what is it? What I'll get, Madam Speaker? What I'll get? His shoes is size 9, mine is size 11. His shoes can't fit me. His pant is 27, mine is 38, Madam Speaker. I can't get the pant, which I understand that's what he have, Madam Speaker. I can't get that. So why is it, Madam Speaker? Why is it I going after Thompson Fontaine for, Madam Speaker? And, Madam Speaker, and to say, Madam Speaker, that the country has not benefited from Petro-Carib, Madam Speaker. Serious untruth in the Parliament, Madam Speaker. When we have been able to show, and I'm not going to repeat it, we've said that several times, the benefits of Petro-Carib is there for everybody to see, Madam Speaker, including the same red cylinder he have cooking his food when he gets a chance to cook his food, Madam Speaker. He get it at $3 less, Madam Speaker, than the Shell. So it's Petro-Carib gas he buying because it's cheaper, Madam Speaker. He comes and says that nobody has benefited from Petro-Carib, Madam Speaker. Can't be serious, Madam Speaker. Senator Thompson Fontaine, Madam Speaker, must tell the people of Dominica under what circumstances he had to leave the IMF, whether he's resigned or they fire him, Madam Speaker. Or he said, he had it and he wanted to do it. But he must tell us why, because sometimes, Madam Speaker, you can be facing disciplinary action, and your boss can ask you to resign and save yourself a lot of embarrassment rather than they fire you. So yes, you may have resigned, but that's what we know that. But you must tell us why, Madam Speaker. And talk about you had this glowing job, $36 million, living in luxury in Maryland, Madam Speaker. You had a job in the U.S., a luxurious job, and the bank take your house. And the bank take your house. And you have to pay money in court for credit card. You couldn't pay your credit card bills, Madam Speaker. Yes, I withdraw, Madam Speaker. I withdraw it, Madam Speaker. I withdraw it, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker. And you come here, Madam Speaker. You come here, Madam Speaker, so highly qualified, and all you could offer 3 years ago, Madam Speaker, was goats to make goat cheese, and you come and repeat this in the Parliament today, Madam Speaker. You have land, you have das land, we're not sure how you put your hand, but you have the land, is yours, you have title, so it's yours. Where is the pilot farm, Madam Speaker, to show the young people in Grand Fund, up in the constituency, how we can grow sufficient goods so we can make some cheese and so on to sell to Martinique and Guadeloupe and France. Madam Speaker, that's why he said going to sell it. He said you can get $50 a pound. And I said, Dominica, not British pound. Why say $50, 50 pounds, or 50 euro? It's not dollars, don't use dollars in Guadeloupe and Martinique, or euro. So you can get 50 euro for a pound of good cheese, Madam Speaker. 50 by 3 is 150. And you, Thompson Fontaine, Senator, you have not a good farm? And you can make 150 euro for a pound of cheese, Madam Speaker. And you're not encouraging none of the youngsters you say asking them for guns to shoot people. And open a little demonstration from Christian how to make good cheese, Madam Speaker. And how to make some perfume, you say, from Belgium, Madam Speaker. Is that what it means, Madam Speaker, with all this qualification? That you can design a scheme, Madam Speaker, a Ponzi scheme, Madam Speaker, claiming that you can pay people 7% on their investment, Madam Speaker. And when questions were raised about that activity, the scheme does disappear. I'll never hear about it again, Madam Speaker. The Ponzi scheme does disappear. Madam Speaker, and you come in here and tell us how qualified and what your CV is, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, come here and say you save St. Kitts. You save St. Kitts. Madam Speaker, I would like to ask him, does he know a Mr. Alfred Shipke? S-H-I-P-K-E. I don't know the pronunciation. Shipke, Madam Speaker. He was the division chief of the IMF in the Western Hemispheric Department, Madam Speaker. And he was the guy that was responsible for working with the Ministry of Finance in St. Kitts, Madam Speaker, to seek to restructure their debt. Madam Speaker, you come to the Parliament and you say it's you. You might have been there like you're always everywhere. You might have been there, but you were not the architect, Madam Speaker. You were not the carpenter that was fixing the economy of St. Kitts, Madam Speaker. And so, Madam Speaker, it shows when men want to take other people's work and attach their names to it, Madam Speaker. We have a special way we just call that, Madam Speaker. I'm not sure, I'm not so smart, so I'm not sure. Huh? Pleasure, yeah, if you're right, it's plagiarism. That's how you call it that one, man. We have lawyers that can advise us. How do you call this one? To come to the Parliament and to tell the world that you were the one, you alone, Madam Speaker, was in St. Kitts. You alone was in St. Kitts. You never mentioned the name of anybody else that was with you working on that project, Madam Speaker. You say you fixed the problem in St. Kitts. When the head of your mission there was a Mr. Alfred Shipke, Madam Speaker. This is the kind of fellow, this is Thompson Fontaine we're dealing with, Madam Speaker, the senator, who have everything to say about everybody else, Madam Speaker. Can't tell us nothing about himself, Madam Speaker. So, I'm not surprised, Madam Speaker, they ran away. That's fine. That's fine, Madam Speaker. But we're not talking to them, we're talking to the people of Dominica, Madam Speaker. And the people of Dominica have to know the type of people that we're dealing with in this country, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, they came here and told us how they always love poor people. Their party love poor people, Madam Speaker. And they never had anything to say about our social programs. Can you believe this, Madam Speaker? Can you believe this, Madam Speaker? And these guys will consist, they claim, Madam Speaker, the members of the opposition, yes, the member for Marigot, leader of the opposition and his team, Madam Speaker, when they vow that when they got into power, the social program would stop, the housing revolution would stop, Madam Speaker. When they call the poor people of this country, people on the Yes We Care program, Madam Speaker, senior citizens who had made their contribution to the development of this country, Madam Speaker, and they call them greedy people, Madam Speaker. And they go to Soufriere in the last by-election and told the people of Soufriere that when they come, by the sweat of your brow you shall eat bread, Madam Speaker. That is what they told the people of Soufriere. Men who had slave on the Eros estate, 80, 90-year-old senior citizens, Madam Speaker, tell the man that he must now climb the mountain and climb back down for him to eat some bread. Soufriere is hills, I'm Pal Report. Sorry about that, but the reality is that. And to tell these poor people that they must walk up the hill in the morning and walk down and sweat at night how they will eat bread, Madam Speaker, when the government is seeking to make the lives of those senior citizens easier, Madam Speaker, and you come in here in your hypocrisy, when we offer them the $200 grant, like not sure which last year or the year before, 2014, you opposed it. You said we were creating a mendicant society.
The government came this year and we raised it by 50. You say no. 400 instead of the 300, Madam Speaker. 400 at the same time when you're planning a radio fund, Madam Speaker, because you have more money to pay in court. Madam Speaker, once you hear Larry River from the, you know your money coming. ATM open, Madam Speaker. Once you hear anything from the opposition about Larry River, just know a money coming, Madam Speaker. And these poor people take the little money Honorable Roosevelt carried and government give them and pledge to pay the bills, Madam Speaker, of the leader of the opposition, Madam Speaker, under the pretext that he's fighting for the people's struggle for Larry. But it was not about Larry River Hotel. It was about defaming the character of an individual, Madam Speaker. That is what the matter was all about, Madam Speaker. And Madam Speaker, you don't want me to go further with that, Madam Speaker. You don't want me to go further with that, Madam Speaker. I will stop. But I can also talk about the food that was cooked in Galilee, Madam Speaker. I can talk about that too. You say you have love for poor people, Madam Speaker, and you love poor people so much. You eat on them and you don't give them in your food, Madam Speaker. You cook broth there in Galilee. You take your share, Madam Speaker. You go and sit on the side away from them, and these people are asking for a little bit of food and you refuse to give a little piece of food, Madam Speaker, and you love poor people, Madam Speaker. Well, what kind of love is that, Madam? That's not the same love Honorable Blackmore, a member for Ma, who was talking about this morning, Madam Speaker. And that is the legacy of the United Workers' Party, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, this government, Madam Speaker, and they come here talking about employment, Madam Speaker, when Honorable Rosalind Paul, in her contribution, showed you how all the measures, Madam Speaker, all the measures that we're taking in this budget have the potential of creating the jobs that is necessary and required in the country, Madam Speaker. On top of the NEP, Madam Speaker, and they have criticism about the NEP. Madam Speaker, we're paying policemen, we're paying nurses, we're paying teachers, we're paying everybody else. Why can't we use some of the country's resources to pay some young people, Madam Speaker, while we seek to rebuild the economy, Madam Speaker? And the intention of the NEP, Madam Speaker, was these people get some training and they would move out in the wider community and find employment, Madam Speaker. And we are putting systems in place with the abattoir, Madam Speaker. We have $10 million in the budget that we're going to put towards farmers, and it didn't specify whether it's all farmers, Madam Speaker. Farmers. And the target really, and the intention was that young people who want to go into poultry and existing poultry and pork farmers would be able to utilize those resources to start new business and to expand on their business. Because we have an abattoir that has potential for taking care of a lot of the unemployment needs in this country, Madam Speaker, and you oppose it, Madam Speaker. But it was heartening to hear the senator from St. Joseph. She said she's a farmer, and I'm happy she's a farmer, Madam Speaker. But one of the things we have to guard against, Madam Speaker, is the issue of predial larceny. The issue of predial larceny, Madam Speaker. Because you can put all your efforts, Madam Speaker, all your efforts you can put, but if every time your banana ripe, your banana mature, somebody at the pass and take it, you have problems. Every time your little plantain ready to harvest, someone have and take it. The same chicken, Madam Speaker, want the chicken ready to kill, someone pass and take it. The pig you have, Madam Speaker, you again pigs and so on. You go and sleep Friday night, Saturday morning, you go to the abattoir to kill some pigs. Pigs disappear, Madam Speaker. And cow too. Predial larceny, Madam Speaker. And all of us here, Madam Speaker, must protect the farmers, Madam Speaker. That we must not encourage predial larceny, Madam Speaker. And when men come and sell meat, you must ask them whether you know the man has got no cow. The man from the same village with you in La Plaine, I'm Minister of Education. You know all who are cow in La Plaine. So if a strange man comes and tell you if you have one cow meat to buy, how are you going to buy the cow meat? You don't know it's silly cow then, Madam Speaker. So we have to guard against that, Madam Speaker. But it's good to see that members of the opposition really beginning to find something useful to do with their time, Madam Speaker. And Madam Speaker, the money for the hoteliers. How you mean, Madam Speaker? One of the problems we have is that we don't have export-ready rooms, as Minister Douglas will tell you, that the rooms are not up to quality, up to standard, Madam Speaker. And so we are assisting the hoteliers and the restaurant owners to get their rooms in order so people will want to come and they can thereby create jobs, Madam Speaker. But something has to go with that, Madam Speaker. Promotion is going to be very critical. And I'm hoping, Madam Speaker, that the senator from Castle Roos will not get in that money, Madam Speaker. Senator Isaac Baptist must not get in that money, Madam Speaker, because you'll be wasting your money. No,
Because this is the gentleman, Madam Speaker, who took a video on Carnival Tuesday morning, in the wee hours of Carnival Tuesday morning, after Juve jumped up, Madam Speaker, shot a video and took it to the United States, Madam, our biggest tourism market, and to show people in the United States that is the state of Dominica. Do not come to Dominica, Madam Speaker. A man who owns a hotel himself, Madam Speaker. That is what he had to show during before the last election, Madam Speaker. So I'm not sure how we're going to clean up that image, Madam Speaker. But before the senator gets from that money, he must go back to the Virgin Islands and tell them he made a mistake. He was just politicking, but that is not the case in Dominica, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker. So these are some of the issues, Madam Speaker, that we have in this budget, Madam Speaker, to spawn the economy. It's a difficult period, Madam Speaker, trying times. Madam Speaker, not one of the members of the opposition mentioned the resettlement program, Madam Speaker, where for the first time in a long time, that you had 2 villages totally obliterated, Madam Speaker, disappeared, Madam Speaker. People living in guest houses for 11 months. People living in community centers, Madam Speaker, in terrible conditions, families separated and divided, Madam Speaker, the parents one place and the children another place, Madam Speaker. And that is not of concern to members of the opposition, Madam Speaker. Talk all sorts of foolishness rather than address the situation as confronting the country, Madam Speaker. While we are trying to build houses, Madam Speaker, to resettle the people, Madam Speaker. In Jubic, Madam Speaker, we have been able, Madam Speaker, and I don't care what nobody say, in quick time, within 8 months, Madam Speaker, starting from scratch, Madam Speaker, from cutlass in the land, Madam Speaker, to building the roads, to get in the houses, to build the houses, to put lights, Madam Speaker, water, internet, Madam Speaker, roads, Madam Speaker. And on this point, Madam Speaker, I really need to thank the utility companies for the quick response, Madam Speaker. Dominica, the Wasco and Flow, Madam Speaker, for the quick response and the cooperation. Madam Speaker, do you know that the Wasco undertook to connect the houses for the people themselves, Madam Speaker, in order that they could move in quickly to their homes, Madam Speaker. And if you go to the homes and you see how these people have cleaned the environment, how they're taking care of their homes, Madam Speaker, they put their chairs and they're very proud homeowners today that their families can be reunited after 11 months, Madam Speaker. That is what we should be here debating and discussing in this Parliament, and how we're going to make this situation, what improvements we can make, what changes we can make to ensure that the situation in Bellevue is even faster than the situation we did in Centre, Madam Speaker. Because we've learned by doing, Madam Speaker. It was a learning curve for us. And we've learned certain things we will do, other things we'll do differently, Madam Speaker. The intention is to quickly reunite those families, Madam Speaker. And the government, Madam Speaker, we have started another 50 petro casas in Bellevue. We have to acquire the land, Madam Speaker. Over $3 million to acquire the estate, Madam Speaker. Bush, forest, Madam Speaker. We have to clear it, Madam Speaker, with the assistance of nurse and the part of Dr. Daru in quick time. First time I see men clear forests like that, Madam Speaker, so quickly, Madam Speaker. Build roads, Madam Speaker. Get bridges. We have to build bridges. Get bridges. That today, Madam Speaker, work has actually begun on the actual construction of those homes. We have signed this agreement, Madam Speaker, with this company, where we're going to be building over 300 homes, Madam Speaker, and develop a brand new community with church, with market, with supermarket. The only thing there is a bank, Madam Speaker. The only thing there is, and I will be surprised if sooner or later they put a credit union there and so on, Madam Speaker. A completely new brand development. We have cemetery too there, Madam Speaker, church and cemetery right there in the development, Madam Speaker. A complete and total development, Madam Speaker. That is what the government has been doing over the last couple of months, Madam Speaker. And I regret the 6 months I wasn't here to be part, Madam Speaker, of that process. But I must thank, Madam Speaker, the former chairman of the Resettlement Committee, Dr. McIntyre. Great work, Dr. McIntyre and his team, Madam Speaker, did. And I know sometimes the Prime Minister gets a little thing because he thinks it should be faster, Madam Speaker. And if you know the Prime Minister well, you can understand, Madam Speaker. 50 homes in 8 months. And the Prime Minister tells you, oh, you're too slow, fella. I should have done that a long time ago. But that's another matter, Madam Speaker. So is the passion, Madam Speaker, the passion for people. And we always said, Madam Speaker, that the reconstruction process was not just about bridges and roads and infrastructure, but human development was key, Madam Speaker, to the rehabilitation process.
Children have to get back to school. People have to get back to work, Madam Speaker. People have to be relaxed, Madam Speaker. That is where we are. And also, Madam Speaker, the technical committee, headed by Mr. Lucian Blackmore, my PS, Madam Speaker. We had numerous fights, Madam Speaker. Because like the Prime Minister, he was taking too much time. So when the Prime Minister sent it on me, I sent it back on them, Madam Speaker. Yeah, well, how are you going to do it now, Madam Speaker? When you see the Prime Minister finish with me, when I go down in that office, they're trouble in that office, you know, Madam Speaker. I had to pass it to somebody, Madam Speaker. And it's Mr. Blackmore that was there, but Pavella, you know me well, so he's just taking it. And back on the road, Madam Speaker, and we're getting the work done, Madam Speaker. We're getting the work done, because we have to take care of the needs of our people, Madam Speaker. In Platinum Pier, the petrol casas there, Madam Speaker, half of them already covered. In 3 months, if you pass, Madam Speaker, you will see the petrol casas are covered. And I've been reassured that by September, October, before independence, the residents of Collyho and Coolibis Street and Jubilant who are affected by Erica will be resettled in their new homes too, Madam Speaker. And the Adventist people, Madam Speaker, Adra, the Seventh Adventist Church, Madam Speaker, they have already painted, windows up, Madam Speaker, I think electricity and so on and so on. They're just working on one, Madam Speaker. And we have offered as a government some support and some assistance to them because we understand the difficult challenges that they're having to make a commitment to the government. And we are prepared to partner with them. It cannot be just left to the 7 days people, Madam Speaker, to do those houses. It's for us they're building it. It's for our people they're building it. And even they promise to build 9, Madam Speaker, and you can help in it. We have to help, Madam Speaker. We have to assist in the process. Because it's not their responsibility, it's our responsibility, Madam Speaker. And so we are prepared and commit ourselves to supporting these people, Madam Speaker. And we have more challenged communities, Madam Speaker. We have more challenged. We have Campbell, we have Pishley, Paradise Valley in Baffin State. So we have work to do, Madam Speaker. We have a lot of work to do. And the government, Madam Speaker, is well on its way to ensuring that we can have a better society, building back better and stronger, Madam Speaker, for the people of Dominica. Madam Speaker, I heard on this radio about the donor community, how they're so vexed with Dominica, that we're not getting them on top. Madam Speaker, that's a dishonesty I cannot deal with, Madam Speaker. And this man who claimed that he worked with the IMF, he knows better, Madam Speaker, because he knows that since during the 1990s, grant funding from artisanal partners have been dwindling, Madam Speaker. Have been dwindling, grant funding. But we have been able, and you see that's the problem, Madam Speaker, we've set the bar so high in this government, Madam Speaker, that even when we drop to where we're supposed to be, we get criticized for it, Madam Speaker. And we have had the Prime
Madam Speaker, I move that the Honourable Minister for Housing be granted an additional 20 minutes to complete his presentation on the budget.
Seconded, Madam Speaker.
It has been moved and seconded that the member gets a further 20 minutes to complete his presentation. Those in favor? Those against? The ayes have it. You may continue now.
relevance, Madam Speaker, to quoting from the 2000 budget, because it says in here that concessionary lending and grants, Madam Speaker, were dwindling. And with the crisis that erupted, Madam Speaker, in those countries, in Europe in particular, and in America, Madam Speaker, it made it more even difficult. Because even if these people want to assist you, but they have their own challenges in their own countries, Madam Speaker. But the case is, Madam Speaker, that during Erica, we've probably gotten, and how do you calculate grants? Are we just dealing with cash, or dealing with cash and kind, Madam Speaker? Because if Venezuela would give us $10 million, Madam Speaker, and they give you 300 petrol casa, 300. I'm asking a rough calculation. I was never good in maths, Madam Speaker, but I would say that one of those petrol casas, 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom, a concrete house, kitchen, bathroom, and so on, easily a 200,000, you see, Madam Speaker. By Dominican standards, Madam Speaker. 3-bedroom house, anywhere in the country, you have to put out your $200,000 for it. And calculate for Madam Speaker, 300 by 2,000, yeah, we in the millions, Madam Speaker, we in the millions. And if Mr. Foreign Affairs, he raised the issue of the British, 25 million pounds for the Lubia to road. The Chinese government just 2 weeks ago, Madam Speaker, we signed the agreement with the Chinese for the reconstruction of the West Coast Highway. And me, in my own conservative mind, I'm looking at a good 50 million to do that, Madam Speaker, including the bridges. It could be more than that. We don't know, Madam Speaker. So I believe that we had projected, Madam Speaker, to raise $90 million in that financial year. That was before Erica, Madam Speaker. And most of the money would go towards infrastructure projects, Madam Speaker. But following Erica, we had to shift focus, Madam Speaker. You couldn't be out there Cockton Road and Billing Road when people were living in resource centers, 50 people with one washroom, Madam Speaker. You couldn't have that. So we had to shift priorities. Priorities had to change, Madam Speaker. So even the man would promise you 10 million, but he give you 300 petrol cars with about 50 million. So what you prefer, Madam Speaker? You prefer $10 million or you prefer $50 million worth of housing, Madam Speaker? And that is how we do it. So in truth and in fact, Madam Speaker, we have collected more grant funding during this financial year than we projected to collect, Madam Speaker. But the system says that you can only count it after you spend it. So even monies that were pledged to us for last year and we could not do those projects, it would not be reflected in the grants collected during the financial year. It will be reflected in this new financial year when you start off with those projects. And the senator's supposed to know that. He come with all this credentials that he read to us this morning. So it's not that he doesn't know, but in his own mischief little mind, Madam Speaker, seeking to confuse. And Bozo the clown goes on Q95 and repeats the same thing, Madam Speaker. Yeah, Madam Speaker, but who is Bozo? Who is Bozo, Madam Speaker? Bozo is a clown, Madam Speaker. So Bozo goes on Q95 and repeats it. Okay, I withdraw that one, Madam Speaker. But the leader of the opposition, Madam Speaker, the leader of the opposition, member for Marigot, he goes on Q95 and he talks that same foolishness about our friends are upset with us and vexed with us because we cannot raise the amount of grant funding that we intended to raise. Absolute dishonesty and untruth, Madam Speaker. And they know better, Madam Speaker. They know better than that, Madam Speaker. So, Madam Speaker, the people are in the center. It cost this government over $12 million for the center development. Over 12 million preliminary estimate, conservative estimate, Madam Speaker. Because we're saying that the 50 petrol cars will cost somewhere in the region of 7 million. Plus we had another 4 million for the infrastructure work that was done. So conservatively, Madam Speaker, we're looking at an easy $13 million, Madam Speaker, to resettle the families of Center, Madam Speaker. And we make no regrets and no apologies for that. And if you have to spend another $1 million to make them comfortable, we'll spend another $1 million, Madam Speaker. And there goes the Citizen by Investment Program. And interestingly, Madam Speaker, half of them opposed it, the other half supported it, but they have some little condition. And Madam Speaker, the biggest argument is it's not sustainable. But I don't know what that means. Because the housing revolution was not supposed to be sustainable. Over 10 years, Madam Speaker, and it's still going strong, building houses for the people of Dominica, a project that was not supposed to be sustainable. The NEP, Madam Speaker, the claim was an election gimmick, was not supposed to be sustainable. And we have moved from 400, from 400, Madam Speaker, to 1,300. And the impression about this is for people who didn't go to school. That is not correct, Madam Speaker. We have university graduates, Madam Speaker, at the banks, Madam Speaker. We have people with master's degrees under that program, Madam Speaker. What we're hoping is that these people will be absorbed by the institutions or similar institutions. And many of them, the Minister for NEP, have been absorbed by the institutions in which they work. I know that Wasco has taken some. I think the banks have taken some. And that's the intention, Madam Speaker, to start them off with a sort of apprenticeship program. You learn the ropes. And when the opportunity arises, the institution will absorb you on their permanent payroll. But no sooner have we got one, Madam Speaker. So it's sustainable. Madam Speaker, no economic activity is sustainable. Bananas, hurricane, all bananas gone. Dashing disease, all dashing finish. Lyme, greening disease, that gone. Tourism, 9/11, tourism gone. So, Madam Speaker, almost every method that you choose, there is a downside to it, and something can always happen, Madam Speaker. CBI, so if something happened, yes. But what we've done, Madam Speaker, and they're calling on us now, the little bit we put in reserve for wet days now, they want, apart from the 10, they want from it now. The little money we put aside, Madam Speaker, in the event of, they want us to spend it on all funny programs. oh, there's no new program. Well, how you can go about the place talking about new projects when you have projects to do? You talking about building all sorts of crazy stuff, Madam Speaker, when you have bridges that you have to repair. You have the situation in Dominica by Dr. Seja. You have the Bailey bridges. Madam Speaker, there is work to be done. The reconstruction has to kick in so new projects can kick in at the appropriate time, Madam Speaker. But may God forbid, Madam Speaker, because our program, as you've heard, is being sought at by many people. Many of the agents in many of the other countries, they're knocking our doors to go and do business in Dominica, Madam Speaker, because Dominica is a virgin as far as the CBI is concerned, Madam Speaker, and everybody wants a piece of that virgin. Everybody wants a little piece, Madam Speaker, of Virgin Dominica as far as the citizenship by investment program is concerned, Madam Speaker. So we raised it, Madam Speaker, attractive. We have put, and they wonder how is it that we can move from 30 million to 90 million. Madam Speaker, you remember the extensive promotion that was done by the Prime Minister, traveling halfway across the world promoting the program. We instituted new regulations, Madam Speaker. We have a marketing firm of international reputation. That is why, Madam Speaker, we are able to increase the revenues from the program. That is why you have been able to do it, Madam Speaker. And we have already said, in the interest of time, I'm not going to tell you all the things that we will do or we have done with this morning, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, in closing, Madam Speaker, just 20 minutes, Madam Speaker. We can talk about water, Madam Speaker. $55 million in the budget for water improvement, Madam Speaker. And we were on course to achieving our Millennium Development Goal of 100% of water for the people of Dominica. Because this government has made substantial investment in the water sector. And the Senator Thomas, he came saying about he wrote a water, so how you call it, a water resource management plan. And Speaker, that's a thing that's done by experts, you know. No little boy can sit in Sylvia and tell him, all right, a management of. He can show it, though, Madam Speaker. He can talk about it, but he can show it. But no, Madam Speaker, here it is, Madam Speaker. We have a national integrated water resource management policy for the Commonwealth of Dominica. Since 2011, we have it, Madam Speaker. And if you permit me, I'll lay it on the table, Madam Speaker, if you permit me. But maybe we only have 1 or 2 copies, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, prepared by all these people, Global Environment Facility, GEFCEHIIWCAN. Madam Speaker, serious international people that sat down and put this document together. And the Senator said that he do one here alone, Madam Speaker. Well, he can give Afi that one, Madam Speaker, the one right there. So Afi can get the water out of the Marigot River, Madam Speaker. But we have a plan, Madam Speaker. We have a plan for the management of our water resources. It's here, Madam Speaker. We don't have to implement it and dot the T's and cross the I's, Madam Speaker. But, Madam Speaker, you know, many of our systems were damaged by the, and we had to stop work. The Bells water supply system, a $7 million, Bells Penrise, $7 million, Madam Speaker. Seriously damaged. We had to get an additional $1 million, Madam Speaker. We have in Dominica, Madam Speaker, and all these areas, the West Coast project, you heard from Dr. Daru, that we have funding, or we're supposed to get funding under the DVRP. The DVRP, Madam Speaker, for the 9 storage tanks that's required from Cottage to the West Coast to complete the West Coast water supply, Madam Speaker. And we are saying that we'll be spending $55 million. It's a lot of money to spend in one financial year. But some of these projects were already started, damaged, and so on. We have the WA1 water system. That was already started. We had already built the tank in Massac. We had already built the tank in Antrim. And just some pipe work and do some improvements, and so to Antrim up so on the way to the airport there, Madam Speaker. So, Madam Speaker, we will do that in terms of the water sector, Madam Speaker. The housing revolution will continue, Madam Speaker. We have added to it the same housing revolution that was not sustainable. We have added to it the washroom programs. They criticized the washroom program, Madam Speaker. They made calypso on us, Madam Speaker. Scared giving toilets, Madam Speaker. To the China and India. They're racing to see which one of those countries will complete their washroom program before the other one, Madam Speaker. 2 strong world economies, Madam Speaker, have a similar or same program because of the impact on their health systems, on their societal development, Madam Speaker. So everybody now moving in this direction. We have placed money, and right now as we speak, Ian, we have money about 7 village councils before the budget, Madam Speaker. And that's the first time I see work going on in the country during budget debate, Madam Speaker.
Normally, you know, everything shut down in March. Nothing happens in April and May. And things open up again in July. But right now, Madam Speaker, you heard the number of projects that are ongoing. While we here speaking about the budget, Madam Speaker, while we here debating the budget, there's work going on. Judge Nanton is still trying to tidy up in Jubilee. Rivers dredging, Madam Speaker. Roads building, up in Bells. In my own constituency, we're doing the Gilead Road. As we speak, they were supposed to pour concrete today, Madam Speaker. And there's money in the village council for some drainage work in Savon Pie and continuation work on the Lamb of Play, on the Lamb of Road, Madam Speaker. And Madam Speaker, I really need to thank my constituents because they were patient, Madam Speaker. They understood that I was absent for a little while. And they did half of the work for me, Madam Speaker. That's the constituency with the most power rep, Madam Speaker. Everybody was a power rep in the constituency. Madam Speaker, you said I wasn't coming back, you know. You said I was going to die, Madam Speaker. Because men working. All prospective power rep, the only person. Anyway, yeah, Madam Speaker. Yeah, Madam Speaker. Work going on, and I said, well, let's do the work. Let's do the work, Madam Speaker. We have work to do. Let's do the work. We'll deal with the issue of candidate at the appropriate time, but now not the time for candidate. Not the time to work, Madam Speaker, in the constituency. And I can say to you, Madam Speaker, that, well, I've been representing them for 22 years, Madam Speaker. That's not by accident that you represent the people for 22 years, despite of what you may hear or what people say. And my numbers not going down. But they go by 1 or 2, but my numbers keep going up, Madam Speaker, for the last 22 years. And I tell you, Madam Speaker, it keeps going up. It can't come down. It keeps going up, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, so we have to do what we have to do, Madam Speaker. We're very focused, Madam Speaker, on doing our work. We're working, Madam Speaker. We're working in the interest of the people of this country. While the opposition, Madam Speaker, seeking to mash up everything that this government tried to do, Madam Speaker, the opposition have to find a way to try to mash. Even when they agree with it, Madam Speaker. In fact, the senator from St. Joseph, she said, well, half of the things they have in their manifesto, we're doing it now. Well, I don't have a problem with that. Which manifesto, Madam Speaker? The child maintenance thing that we're now promoting, the law is already drafted. There have been several consultations on that. So how is your idea we take from last year was election? How you have time to write it, to do it? You cannot do that in 1 year, Madam Speaker. Consultation, and you're ready to go to Parliament. Anytime the Minister of Justice ready, we go to Parliament to pass the Maintenance Act, Madam Speaker. I don't know why Monel, the senator opposing, the Senator Williams opposing the pay up or go up. I thought she'll be happy and she'll clap for that, Madam Speaker. See, they're making noise about who can afford or who cannot afford. Senator Monel Williams should be happy. She'll be protected by it, Madam Speaker. She'll be protected by it, Madam Speaker. Pay up or go up, Madam Speaker. So, Madam Speaker, this is the kind of work that we've been doing. And she said another thing. Oh, the hospital. Since election, Madam Speaker, as part of the 4-pillar project, we always had for the last 10 years, the new hospital was on the card. But there's a process, Madam Speaker, that you have to go through to get a hospital. The hospital is not building a house or a shack in the Zion, Madam Speaker. Yeah, I don't know, they say the ideas we take to build a new hospital. So we're not going to worry about that, Madam Speaker. And let me see what they will put in the next manifesto. If we do everything in theirs, then let's see what they're going to put in the next one, Madam Speaker. So, Madam Speaker, I need to thank Madam Speaker, and I need to use this opportunity to, Madam Speaker, to express some serious condolences, Madam Speaker. I've had 2 rough weeks in my constituency. I've had about 4 or 5 deaths, and there was another one 2 days ago. And I want to express my sympathies to the family of Mr. Benson Joseph from Clifton. He just passed 2 days ago, Madam Speaker. We had Tony Valerie, who was buried last Friday. We had Rodriguez Pante, his wife was buried on Thursday. We had Mr. Williams, who was buried on Tuesday, on Tuesday. We have tomorrow, Saturday, right? We have tomorrow, Madam Speaker, the secretary to my constituency office, who passed under tragic circumstances, Madam Speaker, almost like suddenly, Madam Speaker, 43 years old, pleasant young lady, Madam Speaker, pillar of strength and support in the Kurdish constituency. We'll be laying her to rest tomorrow, Madam Speaker. And I know that the whole constituency is grieving, Madam Speaker. Just today, we understood that our own Prime Minister, I think he has 2 in his family, right? 2 or 1? 2 aunts, Madam Speaker, one in Guadeloupe, one in Vickers, who passed on between yesterday and today, Madam Speaker. And on behalf of my constituency and Dr. Darrow, his mother,
his mother-in-law, Dr. Dario Kenneth Dario, mother-in-law, passed today. He passed today, Madam Speaker. So you can see the kind of stress we're under. But we have to work, Madam Speaker. We have to work. So the most we can do is wish them well and give them our prayers, our strength, our support as a family. This is a Labour Party family, Madam Speaker. And we always look out for each other. And we committing, Madam Speaker, to do whatever we have to do, whatever we can do to ease up the pain and the suffering, Madam Speaker, on those grieving families. And our Prime Minister, I really want to express a profound sadness on your loss. You're a strong fellow. You know you can survive that. I know the passion for the development of this country is your passion. I know family. There's a tactic that says family first, but for you, the country is right next to your family, PM, and we hope that you will find the strength that is required for you to manage this situation as you've always done, and to come out a champion as a Minister for Justice, Member of Parliament for St. Joseph would say. And to my constituents, work is ongoing within the Gilead Road. I now have money at the village council office, like I said, for the continuation of the Lamouth Road and some drainage works in 7.5. For the residents of, and I need to thank Blanchard. We did the Tukari Hill, so the Minister of Public Works, well lighted. Those of you who were in Tukari for the feast in June would have noticed that the road, that bad hill, Madam Speaker, you were there, it's well lighted. All the corners you have lights, making it safer. And we continue to do that, Madam Speaker, to say to them that we have a whole country to deal with, and you may want things a little faster, but you need to understand. And even this present situation where we have vulnerable families, we have vulnerable villages, we have people still living in guest houses, separated from their families, and that has to be a priority for the government, Madam Speaker. But if we just wait, exercise some patience to the people of the Grange in my constituency, we are aware of the condition of the road. We made several visits. That road calling in some attention, Madam Speaker, and that will be done, Madam Speaker. What does not appear in the budget, we can always take them under supplementaries. The CBI program is doing very well, and I would expect that as the monies become available, that will come to the Parliament with supplementary estimates to take care of some of, because we have parameters, Madam Speaker, in spite of everything else, we have parameters with which we need to prepare and to present the budget. And I'm saying, if I know my PM well, I can speak for him, that as soon as the funds becomes available, which we hope is now, that will continue to reach out to all those other communities that feel that there is something that could have been done or could have been in the budget. It's not in the budget, but we'll work together and to ensure that we will have those projects in the budget, Madam Speaker. So, Madam Speaker, this is my contribution. It's just a pity, you know, and I was really going after, because, Madam Speaker, we have to stop that hypocrisy in this country, Madam Speaker. You're either my friend, or you cannot be my friend in the day, and in the night you chew with me. You're not my friend, Madam Speaker. You're either my friend, or you're not my friend, Madam Speaker. And in this period, we're not joking, Madam Speaker. There's no time for joke. We have people depending on us, Madam Speaker. We have people out there waiting. All today, people calling me, so when can I come to my house and licking? I say, well, let us say the budget don't finish yet then. So long all you there talking in the Parliament, I say, no, darling, we don't finish yet. Just wait. Next week we'll talk. I will see what we can do to assist you. So, Madam Speaker, I want to compliment the staff of the Ministry of Housing. They've been a tremendous support. PS Blackmore, former PS, Ms. Yvonne George, member for the Senator has just picked up his bag and has left. Madam Speaker, the staff of the Ministry of Housing, all of them, Madam Speaker, the messenger, the cleaners, because they're the ones to prepare the environment for us to do the work we're doing. And I've been guaranteed that we'll continue to have their support. To the staff of the Ministry of Finance, the FS, we don't always agree sometimes, you know, but she's been doing a fantastic job, Madam Speaker, keeping us in line and guiding us, Madam Speaker. And when I hear members of your opposition casting aspersions on public officers and what public officers are helping the government to hide money, and Madam Speaker, this is really, really unfortunate, because these are hardworking people. These are professional people, Madam Speaker. These people are not political with us. We come here every 5 years and ask people for votes. They don't have to ask nobody for vote, Madam Speaker. They don't have to be political. They're professional, Madam Speaker, in the work that they do. And I must say, yeah, we have some slackers. You always have everywhere. You have slackers, Madam Speaker. Even the West Indies team, you have slackers. But, Madam Speaker, generally, Madam Speaker, we're satisfied that we're getting the support that required from the public officers. And that is why the Prime Minister mentioned that as time goes along, we're looking at some performance criteria where we can reward persons who have demonstrated beyond their call of duty to help this government in fulfilling. So, Madam Speaker, I support the budget. I support the budget. I support the budget, Madam Speaker. Thank you very much.
Speaker, I move that the House be suspended until later publicity.
Seconded, Madam Speaker.
It has been moved and seconded that this honorable House be suspended until 8 p.m. tonight. Those in favor? Those against? The ayes have it. This House stands suspended until 8 p.m.